Alrighty, welcome to the Tesla Investor Day special episode 131 of TopWiz Ask Us Anything. As usual, it's been a pretty busy news week. Tesla has opened its global engineering headquarters in Palo Alto, California, at a site formerly occupied by Hewlett-Packard, which in his own words Elon Musk described as founding Silicon Valley. At the opening ceremony, Musk highlighted the ongoing development of the Optimus robot at the new facility and reflected on the 20 years since Tesla was founded. He also responded to all the critics saying that what Tesla was doing was either impossible or subsequently late by stating that
we specialize in making the impossible merely late.
Tesla have reintroduced a referral program into Australia. The latest of several iterations of referral program allows Tesla owners to earn 1,500 points for Model 3 and Y referrals and 2,500 points for Model S and X referrals. Accumulated points can be redeemed for various Tesla products and services including apparel, charging and other equipment, and free supercharging mileage. Tesla's Gigafactory Berlin in Brandenburg has passed the 4,000 car per week production barrier this week. If sustained, this performance would translate to an annual production rate in excess of 200,000 units, a mere 10 weeks since its production rate passed 3,000 units per week. Starlink is about to exceed 100,000 subscribers in Australia, with anonymous sources reported as saying that Starlink stated at a confidential industry roundtable meeting held last month that it then had 95,000 active subscribers. Tesla has opened a select number of US supercharger sites to all EVs. Non-Tesla EV owners can now charge their cars at superchargers using Tesla's unique Magic Dock adapter, which seamlessly and automatically integrates an adapter to convert Tesla's proprietary so-called North American charging standard to the currently accepted CCS1 charging standard. Tesla has reportedly commenced Project Juniper, which is intended to refresh various internal and external aspects of the 3-year-old Model Y platform. While cosmetic changes are thought to be relatively minor, it is expected that a significant number of subtle component and manufacturing process changes will be implemented to further reduce costs while increasing quality and user experience. Tesla has held its much anticipated 2023 Investor Day at its headquarters at Gigafactory Austin. The presentation and Q&A session ran for over 3.5 hours, a time frame resembling a standard TopWiz Ask Us Anything session. Elon Musk has released the third part of his not-so-secret master plan. At the core of the plan is the goal to build 30 terawatt-hours of renewable power backed by 240 terawatt-hours of energy storage. This will produce approximately 82 petawatt-hours of wholly renewable energy per year, which is projected to meet the entirety of global energy requirements. At a 20-year cost of $10 trillion, this plan is 30% cheaper than business-as-usual investments in the fossil fuel industry over the same time period. Tesla has revealed a new paradigm shift in vehicle manufacturing, which is set to be just as revolutionary as Henry Ford's continuously moving production line first implemented in 1913. In what is dubbed as an unboxed process, future vehicle models will be built in a mix of parallel and series assembly steps. This involves building up various sections of the cars into fully assembled and tested modules which are then unified at the end of a greatly simplified and shortened production line. This new assembly technique, which is likely to be adopted by other manufacturers, brings a 44% increase in operator density and a 30% increase in space and time efficiency, which will significantly reduce investment and operational costs. Tesla has announced it will be releasing the Cybertruck and all future vehicles with 48-volt low-voltage architecture rather than the 60-year-old present 12-volt architecture, which is ubiquitous amongst passenger vehicles. Doing so dramatically reduces power wastage and significantly reduces cable loom weight and complexity. Tesla has subtly revealed an interesting image under the title of "Don't forget to do cool shit," which appears to show an operational high-frequency contactless charging pad surface-mounted in a garage. The system comes complete with a wall-mounted integrated power module. The location of the floor-mounted pad indicates that the Model S Plaid's pickup coil is mounted under its boot, where such equipment is easily accommodated. Tesla has announced that its next Gigafactory will be constructed in the northern Mexico state of Nuevo Leon. Situated on 1,700 hectares of land, which is 70% greater than Tesla's Texas holdings, the new Gigafactory will be substantially larger than its Austin counterpart. Once completed, Gigafactory Mexico will cement its place as the world's largest building as it commences manufacturing of Tesla's next-generation vehicles. On the morning of Investor Day, Tesla reached the milestone of producing a total of 4 million cars. While its first million cars took 12 years to produce, its second million 18 months, and its third million 11 months, the fourth million took less than 7 months. Tesla has begun delivering Model X's with its latest fourth version autopilot computer. Although the Model X has been confirmed as containing AP4, it does not have all the cameras and camera positions that unlock the full functionality of the latest computer technology, such as the centre-mounted front bumper camera as seen in the latest beta-release Cybertrucks. It is unknown at this stage when AP4 will find its way into Model 3s, Ys and S's. An EV owner has paid $500 for charging their Polestar in the Mount Barker region of Western Australia after being convicted of stealing power from the Shire of Plantagenet. Evidence for the offence was gleaned from hidden CCTV footage. The Great Southern District of WA Police has warned that they will prosecute such offences in every instance. And that was this week's news. Indeed it was, and I'm just tired after listening to all that news, let alone speaking it. Welcome everyone. Actually, that's all we've got time for. It's time to go. No, only kidding. Welcome everyone. If you are new, please, and you're comfortable in saying hello, please do so in the next 15 seconds. Once you've unmuted.
I've unmuted. I'm new.
Welcome, John.
I bought took delivery of my Model 3 about 3 weeks ago. Very happy with it. My previous car was a Hyundai i30, which was also a nice little car. But I wanted to be part of the adventure, and I bought it because I could. But I think it's a really good decision. I'm having a lot of fun. And I've got
Fantastic.
a lot to learn.
Congratulations, and yes, you do.
Thank
but
you.
this is the perfect forum to do that. So,
Yeah.
in the great words of a former Prime Minister, Paul Keating, we will do you slowly. The whole point of this learning experience is to basically learn it in sort of slow increments, because if we bombard you with all the knowledge, it just becomes overwhelming. And actually, even though that is the case, EVs aren't really difficult to deal with or drive or charge or anything. It's just something that's not familiar to most of us that have never had one before.
Well,
So,
I got up last Sunday morning, and I thought, I feel like a cup of coffee. I live in East Fremantle. I think I'll drive up to 2J and have a cup of coffee. It will cost me nothing. A cup of coffee cost me $4. Driving it didn't cost anything. I drove from Midland to 2J with the auto steer in service all the way. And it was pretty impressive, really. I wouldn't close my eyes and that, but it's pretty impressive. I went to 2J and back, and I still had enough in my tank for a trip to Bunbury. That's pretty good. Very impressive.
absolutely, and that's what it's all about. These cars are cars without compromise. They really are, and they are awesome.
Very nice.
And once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
And obviously, when we get to the question part, by all means, ask all the questions you want, John, because there's no such thing as silly questions. We've all had the same ones in the past, and even some of us seasoned owners have learnt new things as recently as just mere weeks ago. So
we're full of
all
silly
learning.
answers, mind you, Harold.
Yeah, you'll get plenty
Yes.
of silly questions from me.
No, well, even if you
No
say
such
so
thing.
yourself, Nigel, you may have silly answers, but
Well, Harold, could I ask a silly question, please? How do I turn
Yes.
the camera? How do I turn the camera on?
I'm sorry, that's
I've
not
got
a
you
Tesla-related
guys,
question.
you guys.
Those questions are barred on this forum. So,
I've never used Zoom.
Are you on
Okay.
a phone or
So-
computer?
are
Sorry,
you
Are you
phone
on
or
a phone
computer?
or computer?
I'm using an iPad at home.
Okay, iPad.
Oh, iPad.
So I'm on an iPad, so I can help you.
Yeah.
So if you have a look in the top right-hand corner, can you see a red button that says leave?
Yeah,
Okay, if you count 1, 2, 3,
share
Four.
content.
no,
No, the one next to
one
it.
next to it that says start video.
Gotcha.
There you go.
Right. There.
That's it.
Fine. Thanks.
No worries at all.
I think I'm far enough away without scaring anyone. Okay, I'll go next. I've got a red Model 3, which I ordered in February, just before all those peacekeepers marched into Ukraine, I thought this is a good idea, and I got it in December. I've done 3,500 Ks in it. No real problems. The car is everything I expect it to be. I've got a couple of queries, which I'll get to later. But other than that, I can beat John. For the weekend, we decided we live in Denmark. We decided we'd go to Pemberton just for lunch. There's a lovely restaurant there called Hidden Valley. We drove to Pemberton. The charger there didn't work, so we drove home again. A round trip of about 380 Ks, and the car did it no trouble at all. But yeah, that's about it. Like John, I had an i30, and then we had an Elantra, turbocharged, 7-speed, petrol car, and it was very economical. I didn't like it. It bounced all over the road when you got it going. It went like a rocket. There's a couple of things that were better than the Tesla, but I'll get to that some other time. I'll let somebody else have a chat.
Oh, that's very interesting. We're definitely going to be following up on that very broad statement at the end, but welcome. And feel free to come a little bit closer. You'll find that the audio is a little bit better, a little bit clearer, and that's totally cool. But thanks for that. Okay, anyone else that's new that would like to say hello, please do.
I'll say hello. It's Roger here.
Welcome, Roger.
Yeah, I was speaking to you on the phone the last couple of days. I actually not new. It's been maybe a year or since I actually stuck my head in here, but nice to see you all again. And I've got a red Model 3 as well. I got that in June a couple of years ago and knocked up about 40,000 kilometres already. My car replaced a Beamer 540i, but it was a 1999 model, and I just finished spending about 20 grand for maintenance. And where I live down here in the sticks, down here in Jalbarragup, I was in Margs at the time, but the mechanics down there wouldn't have a clue on the Beamer, let alone the other car I've got. So the one thing I find is that the Model 3 stacks up as a car, ignoring any green credentials, if you like. It's a better car than the Beamer 540i in any way you want to look at it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Except like some people like to say, oh yeah, but the V8 sounds fantastic. But I like to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
there's
a
really,
lot of go Pete.
Go, Pete.
there's really only two things that you could still argue that a internal combustion engine car have over a good EV, and you could argue time to refuel, and you could argue upfront cost. So yes, the upfront cost is more, but we all know you really want to look at it in terms of the total cost of ownership. So after 3 years, you're well in front. So that's not really a valid reason. And in terms of time to refuel, well, it takes me about 5 seconds to refuel my car or recharge my car. I open the flap. Actually, I don't even do that.
Oh, you just press the button.
The plug, yeah, does it. And I just plug it in and walk away. And well, I wait for the green light and then I walk away. So wake up every morning and I've got 10 days worth of driving. So time to refuel is really only a factor if you're doing very long driving, if you're doing more than 4 hours of driving in any one stint. Interesting, when Harold and I did the drive around Australia in the Model Ys, Rob Din, the chairman of Tokwa, he's done it before with Robin as well. And he said to me, he said, while you're waiting for your car to recharge, just have a look at people coming in and take your stopwatch out and figure out how long people spend on average at the petrol station. So yeah, sure enough, it would take about 6 to 7 minutes to refuel. And then they would shift their car and then they go to the toilet or grab some lunch or what have you. On average, it was between 20 and 30 minutes. And there's no supercharger session that's going to take you longer than half an hour. Even on long trips, it's really not an issue unless there are no fast DC chargers, and we know they're all coming. Actually, I was going to say, Harold, is that a news item yet? Gelton?
I don't know.
EV Highway.
Yeah.
Online.
What about it?
Is it online yet?
Oh, no. No.
Right.
No, it hasn't been commissioned yet. No. So the news, I think we had it last. Obviously, we didn't have Ask Us Anything last week because we had a casual meetup at the Victoria Park Hotel, which was a great venue.
That was good.
Quite a balmy night. It was quite warm, but great nonetheless. So we've had a couple of weeks off, but I think in the previous news, I'd reported that the latest news with the WIEV network is that Geraldton is expected to be online early April. And I think Albany was expected to be online late April. So no, there's no news with Geraldton. The news is early April, Pete. And the same follows for Northampton.
Denmark got 2 chargers this week. They bring your own lead type chargers.
Yes, they're the Type 2 Oculus or something like that. Denmark is also in the lengthy process, it seems, to be getting a 50 kilowatt tritium fast DC charger that has been kindly leased for a peppercorn to the Shire of Denmark, I think it is, by CD Dodd. But it's not yet been installed as far as we're aware. It's still in the process of being installed with no real timeline. But there will be a fast DC, 50 kilowatt fast DC charger in Denmark.
Yeah, we badly need it. People are, coming through here all the time, and there's just nothing. There's a dozen Teslas in town, but we've all got Zappies or whatever at home.
Yeah, that's right. Now, speaking of charging, this might be a good opportunity just to have a little look at this image that did feature in the news, and that's this one. So just to explain how I came across, how I came to the conclusion that it was, and others obviously, but I did this independently. You can actually see that it's a classic wireless charging pad, because you can actually see that the main charger unit is this. This is a large
it's different.
A driver, which has to basically pump high frequency AC into this floor mounted coil. And you can even see here, this is actually like a little bump to run over the cable, because rather than actually having to cut into your concrete slab of your driveway, of your garage or carport, this whole thing is wholly surface mounted, and the purpose of this part of it's probably toughened plastic, is to protect this cable going to the charging pad. Now, I did surmise that the Model S Plaid here has got the charging coil in the boot is because obviously this is mounted in the back part and the car hasn't been reverse parked. It's also probably a logical location because there is actually, if you look under actually all of your boots, whether it's a Model S or S, X, 3 or Y, you've generally got a bit of plastic sort of aero moldings that sort of just protects, it just keeps the bottom of the car aerodynamically cleaner and allows the airflow to go a bit smoother. That's an ideal place to put the induction coil to actually pick up the energy from the wireless charger. Good thing about these things is they're usually pretty significant power, so you'll probably get at least the 11 kilowatts possibly more from something like this. And the great thing is, of course, you don't even have to plug in. As Pete said, as much as it's an arduous 5 seconds to plug in and 5 seconds to unplug, it, you know, in this modern day and age, for some of us, it might be difficult to remember to do that all the time. So all the better to just be able to drive into your carport, garage, and have the magic happen by itself.
By the way,
So there you go.
there's a company that's been doing this for a while, and they've even been offering retrofits for Teslas in the US, not in Australia, unfortunately. But I can't remember, Harold, do you know whether, I thought those were front mounted. I thought they had them under the front rather than the boot. I'm talking about plugless.
Yes. So yes, and there's also a company in Europe. I think Bjorn Nyland actually had a video, and it was filmed in possibly
Norway.
Oslo. Yeah, it was in Norway, but I think it might have been in Oslo, and it had quite a rapid charge. Actually, I think that was in excess. It was about 50 kilowatts, if not higher, and they were using high frequency, which you see, if you see here, there's actually a fair gap between the boot and the charging pad. So in this case, they're using a higher frequency, which the beauty of which is that you don't, traditionally, if you have things like Qi chargers, iPhone cordless chargers or the standard Qi chargers, the absolute necessity is to get very close, to get your phone to sit directly on the charging pad, preferably without a protective case, because you lose cover, you lose efficiency, a fair bit of efficiency if you've got even the slightest gap. But if you actually tune the frequency to a higher one and a resonant frequency, you can get coupling with very little loss, even over distances of say 0.5 meter or thereabouts. So this thing from Tesla, and it was actually titled, don't forget to do the cool, what, is a great thing that we can all look forward to coming. It probably won't be cheap, but it's going to be super cool. So anyway, that was a little charging segue.
Harold, could I ask a question then? As you said, your segue was, that's really cool. Is it? Because certainly when I've put my phone for induction charging, it gets quite hot. What sort of heat's going to be generated at the power that you were talking about, 11 kilowatts or up to 50 kilowatts?
Actually, very little.
There's not a lot, because it's actually quite efficient. Although there will be loss, so I don't know the numbers, I don't recall them, but let's say if there's a 5% loss, I guess you could say that's just the transfer loss between the pad and the car. You could say it's not as environmentally friendly as directly plugging it in, but of course you offset that against the benefits of being so seamless. They do have to have certain protections. So they do need to, for instance, if you have an aluminium can sitting on the charging pad, it will basically melt it. So a little bit like induction cooktops. In fact, that's exactly what it is. It's basically an induction cooktop, but rather than inducing eddy currents into metal, it's actually inducing a reverse current into a coil, a pickup coil. But many metals will actually melt if they are on the pad inadvertently. So you've got to have protection mechanisms where I think the car might have, or the charging, probably the car will have an infrared detector to see if anything gets hot on the pad and therefore turn itself off. But I mean, obviously we know that Tesla's going to be doing all that sort of safety stuff. But you won't have to worry about the heat transfer. The pad might have some sort of cooling. There's no sign of it. You can't really see anything, but this is really, I did have a close look. This does look like a photo. I don't think this is photoshopped, because there are too many places where there are reflections that all line up, and I just don't think they're going to bother to do this level of reflections. That's just a little bit too complex, because this car appears to be real too, as opposed to a Photoshop one. So I think this is actually a real product that I actually think this is probably going to get released fairly soon, to be perfectly honest. And like I said, it's not for everyone, but if you've, what do you give a Tesla owner that's got everything? Well, give them an induction charger. Why not?
Do you think it might be retrofittable like some of the other ones on the market?
I don't see why not, to be perfectly honest. In fact, it would make perfect sense, because I think initially it'll be to accept inductive charging, that will be a cost option, and it will probably be I think they call it a service installable option, a little bit like a tow bar.
Yeah.
So I have zero doubt that, near enough to zero doubt that will be available as a retrofit to existing cars. Pretty much certain. Don't know the cost though. And I don't think it'll be standard, because the extra cost probably isn't worth putting in every car when perhaps the majority of them will never use that feature. Unless Tesla are trying to think of things like inductive charging at traffic lights. You might be stopped at a traffic light and maybe do a bit of vicarious.
So, yeah.
So say that again, Pete. You just broke up then.
Or maybe shopping centre car parks or other venues like that.
Oh, look, the mind boggles. You can, and obviously then in that case, it wouldn't actually be proud like this. It would actually be in the tarmac itself integrated. But this is clearly just showing a retrofit solution, completely surface mounted and completely removable and yeah. Otherwise awesome.
That also fits in with the full self-driving, because as you know, your car's only using, or most people only use it for a couple of hours a day. The long-term plan, as I understand it, was to be able to essentially have your car running around making money, essentially doing rideshare, instead of having that snake they had years ago run it over the inductive charger.
Absolutely. And for those that haven't seen, sorry, hang on a second, Pete. For those that haven't seen the Tesla Snake, it goes a little bit like this.
Don't drop the boat.
Laziness personified.
Which is quite mesmerising. But that is a very viable alternative, just to have the inductive pad instead.
The only thing might be a bit too inefficient, a bit too slow as well, or too expensive. So yeah, who knows?
Sorry, you mean the Snake or the inductive pad?
No, the wireless, the inductive charging.
I think the efficiency's been mostly solved. Like I said, I did hear this other company in Oslo or in Norway, and their efficiency figures were, in my mind, almost unbelievable. It was in the high 90%, which is pretty good for something that's wireless.
Yeah.
But anyway, alrighty. So obviously we've had a few little bits of news, such as Investor Day. So, and this is officially a Tesla Investor Day special. So I guess we should sort of dig into that. Pete, you're our resident financial analyst, former stockbroker and other things. What did you think of Investor Day?
Should you play all the stuff first? Your disclaimers and all that crap?
Let's just do that right now.
The following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice. Listeners should seek their own independent assessment from a qualified advisor and not rely on the general nature of information in this program.
So there you go. We'll just get the first part of this presentation, which is this slide here. And then, of course, Control L. Oh, Alt L. Sorry, just got to try and get this thing to behave into full screen. So you can see the problem that they described. 80% of all energy comes from fossil fuels, and not a lot of it actually does anything useful. So what's this slide show us, Pete?
I don't remember this. I was too busy tweeting it, but I think
what it shows us is that the total
a sustainable economy would take a third as much as the current business.
So currently we are consuming 165 petawatt hours of energy per annum, about 3/4 of which is from fossil fuels. But then the second line showing the sustainable energy economy actually shows that you only need, if you are using sustainable electricity or an electrically derived economy, although this does later include some hydrogen for directly reducing iron and some other chemical processes. But if you can distill all of the actual useful energy, you only need about half of it. And that's being a little bit conservative. You may even be able to use even less than half, because in many cases, such as when you're converting thermal energy to electricity, you're only extracting less than 30%, in many cases 25% of that actual energy to usable electricity for things that use electricity. So obviously, if you're doing that with solar or wind or other forms of renewable energy, it's a direct conversion. And then also part of the thing is you may be using fossil fuels to generate heat, to heat things. And in fact, one of the big things is, well, in fact, we'll see this a little bit later in the slides, a big thing is in the Northern Hemisphere with severe winters is they're using direct thermal fossil fuels to create energy for heating homes and buildings and other things. And of course, if you use heat pumps, you get, rather than a 100% efficiency with fossil fuels, you can get up to a 400% efficiency. So really they've distilled the whole global problem of 165 petawatt hours per year down to 82 petawatt hours per year, if it's via sustainable resources. Oops. So then this is actually the master plan as Elon Musk has sort of outlined it. And what's important to note here is this isn't Tesla's master plan, which is how Elon Musk has normally framed these things. This is loosely described as the world's master plan, the plan to bring the world to a sustainable energy future. All it needs to do, inverted commas, is to produce 240 terawatt hours of storage, 30 terawatts of renewable power. That will cost a mere $10 trillion in manufacturing investment. So that's to produce the manufacturing plant that can then produce all of those products. And that then will lead to the 82 petawatt hours per annum that the world needs, simply with what's on that screen there.
To put that 10 trillion into perspective, as Elon said, the world economy GDP is about 100 trillion a year. So it's only about 10% of GDP over a 10-year period.
Absolutely.
So
and I'm just struggling.
Global.
Yep. And I think it's at one of the end. Here we go. At one of the further slides, just to make a comparison of that $10 trillion. and that's over 20 years. If they do a business as usual approach for the investment in fossil fuel extraction and use, that will cost $14 trillion. And you can see the breakup there of coal, natural gas, and oil. So what Elon Musk is proposing that the world does is actually invest less, but invest it in the right areas, that being sustainable energy, rather than, by definition, unsustainable energy.
And so it's
that's
sustainable, not only from an environmental perspective, but from a financial one as well.
absolutely. And he basically, in the presentation, broke up the challenges into 5 different segments. So the first one is basically 35% of reduction of fossil fuel use for direct electric generation. Then 21% to switch to EVs, 23% to switch to heat pumps. So that's basically, and a lot, I mean, let's face it, in Australia, we almost all use heat pumps. Basically, you know, all the air conditioners you buy these days, and most of us have refrigerated air conditioning, and most of us would have purchased reverse cycle refrigerated air conditioning because it just makes perfect sense to use it in winter. But in very cold climates, it's almost unheard of. So that's the challenge. And for that, there's 22% of the solution, or of the problem being solved. Then you've also got 17% of the high temperature. This is a little bit more difficult. Some of these processes need hydrogen, which in this case will be generated wholly from renewable sources. So basically cracking water or electrolyzing water with renewable energy. Because for things like steel making, rather than using coking coal and carbon as the means of extracting the oxygen from iron ore, you use hydrogen and some other gases, but hydrogen is the main one. But you can produce the hydrogen with renewable energy. And then you've got aeroplanes and boats, which boats I think are a lot easier. And when they say boats, they mean ships. They mean big things. And aeroplanes, which is probably the toughest part of the equation. But then the thing is, it's only 5%. So really, the biggest gains are EVs, direct electricity, and then mostly heat pumps for heating for residences and other buildings. And that's really the crux of the grand master plan, the third master plan, in that sense. The rest of the... Sorry, go on.
So a couple of things that haven't been mentioned in that, and one is that as opposed to the fossil fuel paradigm, the renewable paradigm is an energy future that's very, very secure. Very secure. Spin off of that, I guess, is that, if you consider that probably if there is to be a nuclear war, it will be something about getting access to energy, and particularly fossil fuels. So if you put in the cost of a nuclear war into all of the benefits of that, you're way, way out in front if you can get out of fossil fuels.
Yes.
Do you get my logic?
Yes, although a nuclear war would be rather expensive, just quietly.
It'd be rather expensive, and it would be not very pleasant. But what's the point of having a nuclear war if you have energy security? There's no point at all.
Oh yes, yeah. If you apply that logic, yes, that the most likely cause of a nuclear war would be a lack of energy.
People,
yes,
fighting over energy.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, so one of the interesting things, people have sort of poo-pooed solar panels and renewable energy is saying, well, you're going to have, the whole world's going to be covered with solar panels and wind farms and biofuel farms and all that sort of stuff. Well, one of the slides that they showed was that you only need 0.14% of land for direct solar. Now this scale's a bit hard to see. You can see these little squares. They're virtually pixels. Basically, they're very small. In fact, Australia they are very small. So you only need 0.14% of land for solar, 0.03% for wind. And if you see this sort of square that mostly covers Australia, or virtually all it covers more than Australia, that's the total amount of land mass that's used for agriculture, for basically food production, which is a rather sizable proportion of land on the earth. And the solar and wind section is effectively a few pixels. It really is tiny. And there's a comparison between what's currently happening. So all of the light coloured trucks, all of the mining activity that's happening that has nothing to do with energy. And then the darker trucks there are the ones to do with fossil fuel extraction of one sort or another. And then if you compare that to renewable, it's very little extra. And this is of all sorts. This is the lithium, all of the minerals, silicon for that matter, that is required for a renewable economy, completely renewable. So just getting back, that's your fossil fuel extraction. There's your renewable extraction. So it's not going to cause an ecological disaster mining lithium and copper and all the other resources necessary to make a sustainable environment.
And unlike fossil fuels, they're all recyclable. Can't recycle fossil fuel.
Absolutely. And then
forever.
And then the point there is that's precisely what's going to happen to these minerals, because batteries, which is people will present as the biggest concern of, well, you're going to have landfill full of spent batteries. Well, batteries are a very, very, very valuable mine that is easy to extract very cheaply. And all of the good stuff that you want is all in one convenient package, that being the battery pack. So you'll get this circular economy in the future. So yes, there will be an extraction process where when you first do the first 240 terawatt hours of battery storage, you will have to extract those minerals, but you'll mostly have to extract them pretty much once, and then you can recycle them ad infinitum, with obviously, you're going to have a little bit of extra supplementation along the way, but most of it will be recycled.
That's the thing. Recycling only works if it's economical, and it's actually more economic to recycle the batteries than it is to mine new minerals.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a no-brainer.
Absolutely. So then moving on from the Secret Master Plan version 3, Tesla then went on to basically talk about their business, which I guess is really the most interesting part for anyone that's a long-term investor in Tesla, or anyone that's actually interested in the environment, because Tesla is actually demonstrating why what we think of as their current lead in the market is really just warming up, and that not only are Tesla far beyond all other manufacturers today, they are aiming to be even far ahead of themselves in the coming years. And as we had in the news, there was this process called the unboxed assembly process, because obviously usually cars are made, you do the whole shell, you basically have a few people on the outside climbing and crawling inside to try and put things in this car once the main body has been built. And instead, if you work on a sub piece, and this is actually the front casting of this car, then you can get more density of people and or robots for that matter around each piece to actually get the job done. And you can see here that it's 44% operator density and 30%, they call it space time. It really means 30% in space, so area of factory, and also 30% of the actual time needed to do anything to that piece. So you can actually see it's actually a series and parallel assembly process, whereas Henry Ford did a classic, very much a series continuous process. You start at one end, almost with ingots, and then you start building up frames and you keep adding to a very long chain. And I think in Ford's case, it was it wasn't 2.5 hours. It was less than that. I think it was less than about an hour for a Model T to start at the line and finish at the end of the line. All in a one continuous line. So if anything happened, if anything went wrong in the middle of the line, the whole line stopped, literally. So Tesla is now proposing a parallel and serial arrangement whereby you'll stamp and paint various panels, and you'll do various casts, whether it's front, rear, and other castings. You then have, for stamping and painting, the left side, right side, and floor. They're all stamped and painted. And then you've got the front, rear, and other parts of the car as whole modules, which are then brought together in that animation. So this whole section, which has a drive unit, rear seats, casting, even got the wheel arch liners. You know, you've got your floor with your center console,
Structural
seats. Yep, structural battery pack. That's all pre-assembled. You've got your bonnet, your boot with all the linings, your doors fully lined, and all of these systems individually tested. You've got your two sides, again with looms and other bits, cameras and all that stuff, indicators, all pre-tested. And you've got the front with another drive unit if it has one, your dash, your media control unit, the autopilot computer, all of that sort of stuff. That entire ABS brakes, the whole lot, all pre-tested and then assembled, a little bit like they do aeroplanes, where they do whole sub-assemblies and then effectively bolt them together at the end. And that process is going to save so much cost and be so much more reliable, because each subsystem will be fully tested and proved to be operational before it's joined and mated to the other sections. So then the QA is going to be really simple in the end. And this is something that none of the other car manufacturers are doing at the moment. I dare say they probably haven't even thought of it, because
They have now.
they have now. And
They realise that.
And you know, the only car company that can beat Tesla is themselves. And just when the other companies thought they were catching up to what Tesla was doing today, Tesla's already thought of the next thing.
They've said that they used to, pretty much all the 4 million cars that they've produced, they've done it wrong, because they've done the design, then the engineering, and then the manufacturing. And they realised, you know, it just didn't make sense. So the Cybertrucks is going to be the first car where they thought about the manufacturing during the design and the engineering process. So they said the designers, the engineers, and the manufacturing engineers, they're all sitting in the one room during the design process.
Absolutely. And what that's going to result in with this unboxed process is, whereas you have your legacy footprint here, you're going to have a 40% reduction in the footprint of that assembly plant. 40% reduction, which basically means probably more than it's a 50% reduction in cost just by doing that. 50%. I mean, to halve the cost of a product, a mass manufactured product. You know, when you look at the car companies, they're looking at margins of single digit percentage, and Tesla can produce something at half the cost.
Well,
they're already at like almost 30% margin as well now.
Yeah.
Today.
But they're
50%.
Yeah, but they're halving the price the second time around, because the S and the X, and sorry, the 3 and the Y was half the price of the S and the X. And now generation 3 is going to be half the price of the 3 and Y. So it's a 75%. Does that make sense? Yeah, 75% reduction in cost.
And that's going to be here sooner than what people think as well, because that's going to be made at Giga Mexico. And they were talking about trying to beat Shanghai's build. That's
But
their
don't
goal.
forget, they've got the sub-assembly areas for the, say, the doors, the boot, the bonnet, that sort of thing. So they've got to have a provision, I guess, just outside that to feed those areas for assembly and the thing. So I think it's possibly an over-exaggeration to say it's 60% of the floor area, because you'll need those pre-assembly areas as well. Although they'll make the actual fabrication a lot quicker.
Yeah, I'm inclined to go off their figures. I think
the
thing is, you've got a lot of space because you see them when they've got these huge jigs that Tesla's put out a lot of videos, promotional videos on YouTube and Twitter, and you see the big jig that actually puts in the dash panel as one thing through the opening of the door. So you've got all of this machinery that's no longer required, and you don't have the operator density. So if you've got less floor space and you're doing things more efficiently, and you're also testing subsystems in, say, a quarter of the car, well, if something wrong with that subsystem, it's a lot quicker to fix that and isolate that fault to that location or that part than it is to do it at the end of the line or some other part of the line, or when it's a bit too late, when you've sort of entombed part of the fault with other parts. So
very much so.
Yeah, I think it really is a reduction, and Tesla is famous at densifying everything because, in fact, they actually show there is a very classic example of this, and unfortunately, these slides, there are so many slides. Oh, in fact, here you go. This is a classic. This is talking about their wiring loom, and this is how wiring looms used to be made. And it's messy. These are just two looms, and it's just a whole lot of spaghetti, which is super easy to get wrong. And Tesla's point of view is, I think it was between the Model S and the Model 3 even, and the Model 3 really does have a classic wiring loom, but between the Model S and the Model 3, I think they saved 17 kilograms of copper in simplifying the wiring loom. But of course, the next thing that they're going to do is, in modifying the loom too, they're also going to modify the percentage of controllers that Tesla have designed themselves, from as low as 20% from the Model S, because they were really just starting out talking to tier 1 and tier 2 suppliers, to all the way to the next gen vehicle is going to be 100% Tesla, and the Cybertruck is going to be 85%. So when you combine that with innovations such as replacing all relays with e-fuses, and all an e-fuse really is a solid state relay with current monitoring. And the great thing about that is, like they explained, you can then actually have automatic reconnection. So if there's a temporary excess current being drawn by something, then you can actually automatically reconnect and see if that fault is still there or if it was just a glitch. And you can have a program that will do that several times and then decide just to leave it off. Or you can do load shedding if you've got critical power problems, such as really low battery or something like that. So, and it's much more reliable because the solid state will last much, much longer than any relays do. But you've also got the current monitoring and fault monitoring. Just like most of the cars we get these days have the lithium ion battery that lasts for the lifetime of the car, and you've got an 87% reduction in weight, which is huge. And I'm sure there's several of us in the room that have had their lead acid batteries replaced in their cars because it's a wearing item. And it's a single point of failure where your car will be disabled should it, or when it eventually dies.
Well,
But
again,
with
that's dramatic weight reduction as well, replacing that battery, because imagine the excess lead that's going to be available, because lead batteries are going to go out surely for majority of people.
Absolutely. And this actual connector here has it actually knows when it's properly mated, and that actually the car knows. So there's no error. They mentioned whether if your car gets serviced, one of the routine things they will do if they work on the electrical system is actually disconnect this battery. But there is positive confirmation that you've got a proper connection once that connector is mated. And it's not relying on, terminals that get corrosion on them and things like that. So really Tesla just never ceases to innovate. And I even explained in the center display of the Model 3 and Y that they brought the cost down from 2017 to 2020. Well, it's going to be 2023. So far they're at 24%, and they're looking at going to more than a 30% saving. The weight's gone down and the actual power's gone down, but I think the display brightness has gone up by 50%. So it's just another example of how Tesla just continues to innovate. And of course, they then go on to show that some of the innovation with my favorite product, which is the Cybertruck. And 85% of all these modules are going to be of Tesla's own design, or the actual silicon in those modules is going to be their own design. And the Cybertruck is actually going to be the first model to have the 48-volt architecture.
Yeah.
So, that's just Tesla doing what it does. It never stops. It never sleeps. It relentlessly goes for improvement continually.
And one little nugget that came to light after the Prezzo, Tesla's mantra is the best part is no part. So it sounds like the Gen 3 platform is, one big part that they're removing is just like with the Cybertruck, no paint. So it sounds like it's going to be a cybercar, which will be just incredibly interesting.
Tom Zhu, who is arguably Tesla's 2IC, effectively, and a real hot candidate to possibly replace Elon Musk as CEO if and when he decides to concentrate on what he loves doing, which is the engineering part. He was asked, well, what about the new model? Is that going to be stainless steel like the Cybertruck? And Tom directly said, well, paint is expensive, and smirked. And it is expensive. And like you say, Pete, the best paint is no paint.
Yep.
Because you don't need to respray no paint.
Yep.
Great for maintenance as well.
Yeah. God.
Absolutely.
Just they're gonna smash it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question for Harold. Sorry, I've got a question for Harold.
Yes, Alex.
There's a slide here with it's slide 2, switch to electric vehicles, and he's got 2 models wrapped up in a sheet. The looks of it. What do you think those 2 are? Is it the Model A?
Yes, I'm trying to. How far away is that? That's low down, isn't it? Or is that
43.03 seconds into the presentation?
Oh, so it's at the start, isn't it, Alex?
Near the start, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just scrolling up. It takes this PDF a rather a
He's
long
got
while.
quite a lot of white sheets on his presentation. So is he going
exactly.
to making bed linen?
Yes. He's going to make bed linen in a sustainable way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Actually, this slide I found quite interesting.
Here it is. Here it is. There it is. Yes. So I'm really glad you asked that, Alex, because this is the slide here.
Yeah.
So it is obvious that, this is let's call it the Model 2.
Yep.
So it's really a compact sedan. And they say 300 million. So it's another clue here too, is they actually show this is the global fleet. And I think the global fleet is actually 2 billion vehicles, but Zach Kirkhorn, or maybe it was Drew Baglino, because they both look similar, one of them said that what this is showing is actually 1.4 billion car vehicles. So, I mean, to my mind, this looks like the equivalent of a transit van. But then others have said it could be a bus, but I just don't think it's a bus. Although, I mean, it could be a small bus, of course, but it's probably more likely to be, effectively a transit van, which does your last mile of deliveries.
Yeah.
Because obviously they've addressed the first 2,000 miles of deliveries, which is the 20 million prime movers. But you've got, and that would make sense, you've got 300 million, let's call them transit vans. And clearly that's what Tesla's going to be developing, and it just makes sense.
Well, he was in master plan too as well. So
yeah. So, and the thing so really there is an overlapping of master plan 2 and 3, and really Tesla's saying this is going to be their fleet, and there might be variations of this transit van, and it may morph into a people mover or a bus or something, a small bus, like a coaster.
I have a feeling I remember Musk talking about how good he thought the Mercedes Sprinter was.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a Cybertruck version of the Mercedes Sprinter.
I think spot on, Richard.
And just touching on that unboxing thing, man, I had goosebumps when I saw that. I was like, my God, and I think it was Musk again that said that everything is obvious when it's been done.
In hindsight.
And it just in hindsight, and it's I just thought, that actually makes so much sense. You can do all of that. I guess one thing that comes to mind is like you'd want to make sure that your paint is all the paint correction. I don't know anything about paint, but like is all okay, because otherwise you could have a mismatched thing. But I guess with modern technology you can hopefully get around that. If it's not all painted at the same time, but yeah, man.
But Richard, it's not to say that you can't have all of those panels in the raw as the what they call the body in white, but let's call it the pieces of the body in white. There's nothing to say that they can't all go through the paint shop at the same time.
Yeah.
But then they just disperse.
Okay. Yeah.
And they disperse to where they need to go.
Yeah.
To then be loaded up with all the modules and all that sort of stuff, and then come back. I guess the insanity of the previous system was you'd get the body in white, attach the doors, the boot and the bonnet, not the bumpers though, because they were painted separately.
Yeah.
And you would then paint it, and then you would literally take off the doors. And I think the boot and the bonnet.
Yes. Yeah.
So that was kind of insane, because that's just another risk of damaging stuff, and it's just another process step to do, which you don't have to. But I do imagine that they would you're right, unless they have big batches of paint, and as long as it's a big batch and everything goes in the one batch, it should be the same. Or maybe they just make sure they all follow each other in one lot, and then disperse into the other sections of the factory to get built up.
But maybe this is all a moot point, because maybe none of their new vehicles from now on will have paint. I wouldn't be surprised if
they did describe paint. They did say paint. So I mean, not everything will be
so
necessarily.
Maybe there are future factories that are producing the 3, the Y, the S, and the X will have paint, but maybe their Cybertruck van and whatever their new generation vehicle might not. Maybe.
Yeah. The only thing I'd say against, look, if you presume that this image is kind of accurate in that it's actually it's not necessarily a photo. Well, it could be a photo of a prototype. If it's accurate, this looks a bit too rounded. Like if this was literally made of stainless steel, the same as a Cybertruck, and we know that the Cybertruck, you cannot bend anything. The only thing I think that's bent, well, what we do know is the bonnet has got a curve.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
But that curve has been done tortuously, and you can see the dents in it, and that's another story. And I think this front part is also curved, but it's probably just flexed. Like, it's not stamped bent. I think it's literally been pulled bend. Like it's
Yeah.
if you let go of this, it would be straight sort of thing, but it's been attached to be bent. But you can only fold this sort of material. You can't stamp it. And this image, if it's accurate, definitely shows. It doesn't show hard corners. You know what I mean? I think this might be more conventionally done, at least this version of it. But that's not to say that there won't be other versions that are a small version of this. And you know, this car also looks curvy. Sorry, someone, James, yes, you were going to say?
That'd be the robo taxi.
Yes. Oh, you mean robotaxi as in Cyberstyle, or you mean that?
Yes.
That's the
That boxy
robotaxi.
thing.
This one here.
No,
Oh,
the
okay.
robotaxi would be the 700 million.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yes, yeah. And bearing in mind, I think Elon Musk has recently said, as recently as earlier today, I think he said this, that not the next gen. There'll be two versions of the next generation car: that which you just drive around and can be self-driving, and the robotaxi, which would be a different version of that same sort of thing. Because a robotaxi would have zero steering wheel at all, whereas I think the model, let's call it the Model 2, I think they're still anticipating that to have a steering wheel. I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yeah.
So there will be multiple versions of a very similar thing.
One other interesting that they said during the presentation is that they've spent $28 billion to create the 4 million cars.
Amazing.
They said they'll need another $175 billion, 28 billion of which has already been spent. So another $147 billion. So if you take the 28 billion, divide that by 4 million cars, that's about $7,000 US per car. And if you take, actually, I might share my screen. And if you sort of count up all the cars that they're going to produce between, sorry, I've just lost that. There it is. So if you count, we know they produced 1.3 million cars last year. And if you just increase that volume by 50% per annum, which is their long-term goal, or their long-term average. So by the time you get to January of 2030, you're at 22 million cars a year. So cumulatively, that's 62.54 million cars. So you take that 147 billion, divide that by the 62.54 million, and that's less than $2,350 per car. So that's a third, of what they've spent so far. And that includes, pretty sure that it includes spending on energy and batteries as well. So it would have to be, less than 2,350 per car. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, Tesla will be funding this with nothing but their organically grown earnings.
It's the free cash flow that they throw off every year.
So there's zero debt that Tesla needs to get to 20 million cars run rate per annum by the end of this decade. Zero external investment, which what other car company can do that? They're just not making that kind of cash.
No.
They're just not.
Well, if you go outside the sphere of car companies, I mean, what other company growing at 50% per annum can self-fund it all? Not too many.
No. Well, perhaps Apple. But there again, that's where a lot of people keep poo-pooing that. No, and they're not growing at that rate anymore. No. And just to highlight the cost savings that Tesla's going to go along the way, their next drive unit is going to cost $1,000.
Yeah.
And you know, and one clever thing that they did, you see on this slide, there's a 75% reduction in the silicon carbide, and basically the silicon carbide is just part of the switching transistors that are essential to effectively create the synthetic AC waveform to drive the motors. And it's silicon carbide is the best for that situation. The problem is it does generate a lot of heat in actually doing the switching. So the reason that Tesla can do a 75% reduction in silicon carbide is they've actually created their own unique packaging of that silicon carbide where they can pull the heat out better, which means you need less of it because you can make it work harder. It can get hotter, but as long as you pull that heat out efficiently, it's just as good as 4 times that amount of silicon carbide. silicon carbide. So that's one of the ways they can get the $1,000 all-in cost for their drive unit. And in fact, what they actually did to do that was they had to do detailed in-house simulations of how the magnetic fields flow through their motors. And I think they said they went through 1 million different design iterations, obviously all simulated, but because they've got the simulation tools, they can do that. They can change the minutiae of all of this construction. If I can get this right, all of these designs with the permanent magnets, and change all the arrangements. And they've done 1 million simulations or 1 million iterations to get the most efficient and cheapest motor. So not only is it just $1,000 all in, one of the reasons is that previously you'd need about 500 grams of one of the rare earths and 10 grams of another and of another. And some of these rare earths are quite expensive to produce just these permanent magnets, which are amazingly strong as part of their motor. Their next drivetrain, this is a Model Y, the next drivetrain will have precisely 0.
But does that come with a potential weight gain? I was reading something about we get rid of the rare earths, but there's, unless Tesla go to work and invent something that motor doesn't have a weight gain, you still have to have some magnets.
It certainly does. If we believe this image that it's effectively still the same type of construction, then those magnets, unless they've worked out how to construct very strong magnets without those rare earths.
Yeah.
In fact, I was thinking maybe they've maybe they were cute with the wording saying, well, we don't have rare earth 1, 2, and 3. Maybe they use a rare earth number 4. Yeah. But if you look at this line here, it says using 0 rare earths.
Mm.
So I don't know if you're going to gain a little bit of weight.
There's some literature out there on that sort of motor without rare earths would be heavier. So I can only think Tesla is the only firm that could actually make it work. And
they're probably the only firm that has the in-house simulation software that could even think about changing designs altogether.
Yeah.
And obviously, unfortunately, during the actual presentation, this was actually a really cool animation, but on PDF it's just frozen. But I guess, like you said, perhaps only Tesla can do this. Yeah. And that's what they've basically done. And that's why you can produce an all-in cost for a drivetrain of $1,000 when, according to Sandy Munro, the best of all the other motors, drivetrains are between $2,500 and $2,000. This is all the US numbers, of course. But again, Tesla's less than half the cost on just one very important subcomponent.
Well, Sandy talks pretty well after a few drinks too.
Oh yeah, that
He
was
does.
awesome. That was really good. That was on Farzad's channel.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Sorry,
I
couldn't
love it.
shut him up.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure that Corey feels of Sandy as like that embarrassing sort of parent.
Oh,
that-
yes.
Yeah.
The uncle.
Yep. Yeah, you would have been happy, Harold. He was saying $1,000 next year, sort of thing.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, $1,000 share price.
Yeah.
What next year? Oh,
Yeah, sort of.
I don't. I for what I want to plan for the T1000 party, Paul, I need a bit more time than that. But hey, I'm happy to have that problem if it comes along.
Yep.
That's about a 5-bagger from here. That would be like an earthquake.
Well,
That
hopefully
really
it's
would
not
be.
long after Mexico opens.
Yep.
Well, apparently Mexico, that was in the news as well. I didn't put it in the news, but it was news that they are literally just waiting for permits, and if they get the permits, they will start as early as next month.
Yeah.
Because
And they
time
wanna-
is of the essence.
They want to beat the Shanghai build.
Absolutely.
And
And
Tom Will.
Tom Zhu did it in 9 months, from groundbreaking to
Muddy field
to commissioning, and then 3 months later they had their first car come out. So in 1 year they went from nothing to a whole car.
Well, there's not much red tape in Mexico, I wouldn't think.
couple of kilos.
No,
Just cash money changing hands.
absolutely,
That's what I said.
absolutely.
A couple of kilos of cash.
And I'm just scrolling through some of the other slides, and stuff that Tesla's done that our cars, most of the Model Y, well, all the Model Ys and all of the new Model 3s have, which this slide does not show. This is how you used to do air conditioning in a car, in an electric car, and you can see the Model S and X, and I'm obviously very familiar with this. I mean, the Model X and S and the older Model 3s, in fact, you see here, actually had resistive heat for heating, which was rather expensive in winter on your battery consumption or depletion. And you can see all the pipes and all these systems and all this stuff that you've got to assemble in the car as it was built as a whole. They've just gone to this unit, which is the new heat pump, and you've got 100 subcomponents that are all assembled together as one unit. And that is another reason to explain how Tesla can just reduce costs and efficiency and reduce weight and improve performance and reliability. And they even have gone down to, they used to manually make these subsystems, which took them a horrendous amount of time. They then went to semi-automated, where they had some automation. They simulated the entire process, and then they have actually now automated it. And the result of that is that when they were doing it the manual way, this is how many parts one person could do in a week. And it was like a rounding error to, I don't know, is that maybe 10? To semi-automated, maybe 50, 40? And automated, over 1,100 per operator. And their defect rate went down to, 0.005%.
That's unbelievable.
99% reduction in labour. Unfortunately, people, you got to pay them properly and all that sort of thing. Machines just do their thing. And 7 seconds for a heat pump to roll off the supply line. And speaking of which, you see supply line. So this is actually done by a third party supplier, but it's been done with all of Tesla's assistance and knowledge and research, that they freely and openly engage with their suppliers to make them perform the best they can with the least amount of defects and the lowest cost. And that was a theme that was explained several times, even when they went through to logistics, where Tesla deeply get involved with all of their subcontractors to make sure they all perform as best as they can at the cheapest cost and the highest quality.
Well, they said that basically the only reason why they're refining lithium is to, as a proof of concept, really, on a large scale, to show the other refiners that it can be done this way. And once they can do it the way they think it should be done, then they'll stop doing it, and the other refiners can take over. They said they're only doing it because they have to.
Absolutely. Just to get back to the Shanghai thing, there's the two images. January 2019, it's just and in September 2019, it's been commissioned. 9.5 months. I mean, that sort of stuff just doesn't get done in that sort of time.
So Harold, just about, it must have been about 18 months, 2 years ago now. So work sent me and as good as Roy Hill have got for battery experts to an energy metals conference in Perth. And one bit that really struck me was you had the US consulate a few meters away from me telling the whole room, basically, Australia, sort your SHIT out and start getting your processing online, because it's a strategic risk having China dominating the world's processing. And I got the message loud and clear, but I'm not sure anyone else did.
We need to build a few of these.
Oh, man.
You know, Although I think Albemarle is actually building one in Kwinana.
Yeah.
If I'm not
Has
mistaken.
that come online yet?
I don't know, to be honest.
Around with it. God. Just get on with it. They need to get on with it.
But the refinery in Henderson, they're expanding it 4 times the size of its current size.
Brilliant.
Of the lithium refinery?
Yes.
Oh, very good. Very good. And I dare say they could probably double that after that again. And,
there's lots of space down there.
MRL are building one in Kwinana, aren't they?
That's the one.
Mineral
That's
resources.
So, but this is what Tesla is doing. 50
MRL
gigawatt hours a year.
You say demo.
What was that, Richard?
So were you saying MRL? That'd be interesting.
I thought MRL were building one in Kwinana, lithium refinery.
Yeah, but aren't they building it for Albemarle? Isn't that what aren't they just the building contractors?
I know that there's a couple going on. Like
so Alpha Mar or whatever, they're building that for MRL, are they, Harold?
And I thought MRL are building it for Albemarle or I forget what they're called. There's a building contractor or contracting company that's building it for Albemarle, which I think they're the company that owns Greenbushes, I think. I think that's right.
Oh, yeah.
Or there's a joint venture.
I remember reading somewhere a while ago, MRL are doing a refinery as well. MRL's a mining company, Harold.
Yeah,
Mineral
there's
okay. Apologies.
There's a couple happening.
Yeah,
they
the
do
Chinese company.
They've got Mount Marion Lithium near Kalgoorlie.
Yes. Yep.
It's really high grade lithium there too.
Oh, Tianji. Sorry, Tianji. Yes, Tianji. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. Okay. So if we move, in fact, it's still related because all this stuff has got lithium in it,
and
you've got power packs. So they sort of explained they actually had something that I've never seen, which is called the Super Pack. And how did you do that, Damo? You scribbled on my screen.
I don't even know. I'm trying to work that out.
All right.
Wow.
Just don't scribble. Hang on. If I go like that and then like that, there we go. Fixed it.
There we go.
All
Fixed it.
Stop scribbling, Domo. So they produced something that was like a super pack, and I've never heard of a super pack, but never mind. And then you had your curved DC and also AC Powerwall, and a small power pack, and then you had your what we all know as the Powerwall now in 2016, and then they brought out the Mega Pack in 2019, and then they've got the Powerwall Plus, which that really just had the more advanced gateway. It had a 3-phase gateway, although the Powerwall can't do 3-phase, and then you've got the Mega Pack 2 and the Mega Pack 2 XL, and I think it was Drew Baglino that explained that is the heaviest, biggest mega pack you can basically transport on the roads without, I think he described it as an insane number of permits and issues. So you could basically, I think this is effectively a 40-foot container plus extras. It's a, I forget what they call it, it's a 2 TU plus or something. It's the biggest standardized container that you can basically have on a vehicle and weight. But they obviously are coming out with the Powerwall 3, which is this, very much so. And this thing, which Pete, you had a theory about this, which I thought was kind of interesting. Although, what was your theory?
Well, I thought it might be somewhere around the 100 kilowatt hour mark, somewhere between the Power Pack and the Powerwall. Because that's sort of the part of the market, I mean, commercial and industrial is looked after, residential is looked after, but the small businesses, that, it's impractical to have 7 Powerwalls. So maybe, or 14 or 21 Powerwalls. So, maybe it's that part of the market that where there's a hole that they're plugging.
Could it be community battery?
Yeah, could be. Yeah,
it's possible. I mean, if you look at the shape of it, I don't necessarily know if these things are actually images or whether they're renderings, because you can render cloth draping over things pretty accurately these days, or if it actually is a photo that's sort of black and white and whatever. But what I thought was interesting is you can sort of see there's a slight dip, like there's an edge, but there's like a little void. Not that I know that means anything, but I mean, I guess you could say, this is the progression of products. So the power packs still exist. So community batteries can still be done. I mean, we've got them in Perth, and they can still be deployed probably in this smaller form factor for the small jobs. And really the Mega Pack 2 XL and perhaps this product up here is really for the big batteries.
It could be a coffin for Toyota Motor Company.
Only a grumpy old man could say that.
Oh.
Only. But very good point, Nigel.
I wonder if the next Powerwall will do vehicle to grid, like with the next generation stuff.
Well, it's funny. In the Q&A, Drew Baglino was waxing lyrical about the fact that by sort of a happy coincidence, the way they've reduced the costs of their vehicle chargers, onboard chargers, has actually meant that it's unlocked the ability to do vehicle to grid. And I dare say that's probably because they're using switching transistors at the last stage of the power unit rather than diodes. So all our cars have diodes, which means none of our cars can ever do vehicle to grid in an AC coupled sense. They could still, as I've explained last time, they could still do vehicle to grid in the DC path. And frustratingly, it's relatively easy to do that. It's just that no one has established a standard for it yet. But Elon Musk then commented straight after, almost exacerbated, going, I don't know why you'd even bother. And I think he to be honest, to be with all due respect, he kind of got off the track because he sort of said, well, if you unplug, the problem is if you unplugged your car, then your house would black out. And it's like, well, that's not true. It would only do that if you were off grid.
In backup
or if the power failed just as you unplugged your car. But of course, you would probably have a power wall, because he just suggested, well, why not just do it with the power wall?
Yeah,
of course, your car's got a much bigger capacity than a power wall.
He needs to drop the price of Powerwall then. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I can get one, but you know, most people can't afford 16 grand or whatever installed. You know, that's ridiculous. If you got the car, they could sell way more cars as well. Because you know, like I was explaining to a fellow at work today, you know, if we had vehicle to grid, the car's like 4 Powerwalls, or you know, it's more. And he was like, oh, I never thought about that. That would be a good idea. So, and he's one that was not thinking about the car. Now he's thinking that'd be a great idea. He would buy one. You know?
Yep.
It's one little thing. Get more people.
Well, the thing is, vehicle to grid, or possibly more battery to grid. So battery storage really is a money spinner, because Tesla also showed that the difference. So if you just, so this is the default, and this, I think this might be actually in Australian dollars, because this is an Australian study. This is a South Australian study, that the actual default cost of electricity per house is $142 per month. Then if you add solar, Powerwall, but no grid integration, but just the solar and the Powerwall, it'll cost $69 a month, because you obviously use your own energy and can sell some as well. But when you actually use Tesla's auto bidder and you actually actively participate in the open market for electricity, it actually earns you $61 a month, which is a $130 turnaround. So you've gone from spending without technology $142 a month to earning 61. And that's a real turnaround, and that's based on 5,000 participants in Australia, or Australian customers in 2022, last year.
In South Australia.
In South Australia.
Yeah, we need it here.
But of course, not everyone could do that, because if everyone was a net earner, well, who's going to pay the money? So again, there's a bit of an equality issue there of accessibility. It's all right for us better off people to be able to afford to buy a Powerwall in the first place, as Paul sort of alluded to, and solar, and participate in the market. But then if you can't afford to it, then can't afford to do that, then you're kind of doomed to buy power from the rest of us. And there's an equity issue there.
How's that any different than now? I mean, you know, you could argue the same thing with solar panels. You know, you could say that, you know, some people can't afford them. So, you know, you could argue the same thing with electric cars. You could, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Solar systems.
Yeah, and the thing too is ABS brakes were only available to a certain few Mercedes-Benz cars in the, I think it was either the very end of the 70s or the very start of the 80s. And those cars were horrendously expensive. Today, it is an Australian design rule that all passenger vehicles have ABS as a minimum, and other things, but it's become from something that was absolutely exclusive to cars that cost more than expensive oil paintings, to something that is a requirement by law. So that's how you can change. So Powerwalls will be super affordable later. One of the things, I think it's funny because it's in small print, but you got this graph. So everyone looks at this graph and goes, "Oh, that's cool. It's an exponential growth of where they are as far as battery storage is concerned." And it's true, it will go exponential. And, you know, they are focusing on building capacity and ramping quickly. But just look at the next part of this line. Tesla is an electricity retailer. So just when you thought that Tesla was a car company, and then maybe you went, well, maybe it's an energy storage company, and maybe it's something else.
Maybe
it's
it's
actually an energy retailer. And no one thought about that as a diversified company.
Probably managed by Twitter.
Tesla have been an energy retailer in the UK that they've had a license there for, probably a couple of years now.
Yep.
And
I think it's like,
in Texas, not in Texas, or Nevada, or one of the states in the US as well.
Texas, I think.
Texas.
Yes. Well, in fact, in Texas, they did explain that they are going to be offering in July $30 a month for unlimited nighttime charging at home.
Would that be?
$1 a day.
And the reason for that is that Texas has a lot of wind energy. And I think they also have nuclear as well. There's a base load. So when the wind blows, there's just absolute surplus and they need to get rid of it. And this is what Tesla can do, is offer $1 a day, unlimited.
From renewable energy too.
Yeah, and to be honest, electric cars can consume if you do a lot of kilometres, it can consume a fair bit of energy. But wow, $360 a year, that's pretty cheap. That's pretty cheap. Without any equipment. No solar, no battery storage of your own. Just plug your car in unlimitedly. So it's all just, yeah. It's all a bit much. And that wasn't even the end of the presentation, and it did go on. They've got nearly 130,000 employees, but they've got 3 million applicants in 2021 that wanted a job.
Do you know, it's just hit me. That's absolutely genius for Texas, because they've got the factory there, and then it means that people go, well, I might as well buy a Tesla, and if my fuel cost is going to be $30 a month.
Why wouldn't you?
I'm losing money on that, or at least hedging. But then
unlimited
to sell cars.
Unlimited kilometers for $1 a day.
It's so clever.
And they're not even, like you've got the Cybertruck coming, like a bigger vehicle that would consume more, but it's still going to cost you just $30. Sure. They're going to sell a load.
Mate, I wonder if you could do that with the Tesla Semi.
Profound.
Yeah. Well, if you
had
one,
stop it, Nigel. Stop it.
1 terawatt a night.
It's done like
I'm going to move to Texas
with the unlimited.
Yeah. That's a good idea. Like the owner operator.
Genius, hey?
And if ever you thought people would criticize Tesla and say, well, you've consumed an absolute ton of energy building all these cars and more energy than you'll ever create, and where's all that coming from, and you're wrecking the environment. Well, Tesla showed in their impact report that between 2012 and 2021, their solar panels, just Tesla's ones, produced a little bit more energy than the sum of all of the energy required to build all of their cars and the energy required to use them over that period of time. So it's just...
So they're already negative. Well, you got other companies dribbling on about they'll do this by 2030 or 2050 or some shit like that. Tesla's actually doing it.
And then they say things like, go Pete.
Go Pete.
I know, I was just going to say it's not quite, because, you need to take into account, the emissions from, the suppliers that make the parts, etc. So, but yeah, it's, it's very commendable. It's incredible.
And that point is a good one, because that point was addressed on the very next slide, because it actually shows the all-in life cycle emissions. This is for the US. And it does actually show that a Model 3 or Y does consume more energy in the manufacturing phase than the average premium ICE car. But look at the total emissions in the use phase. So this is the use phase of a Model 3 and a Y, and this is the use phase of an average premium ICE car. That's lifetime.
The embodied energy payback period is just over a year.
So, you know, that again, that just puts paid to the argument of the naysayers that say, you know, it's just all smoke and mirrors. And then, you know, you can see that how Tesla has reduced their costs. They show the Model 3 cost per car normalized. Now, when they say normalized, it means it ignores the volatility and commodity prices. So this is the price as it would be if all of the input costs were the same over time. And in 4 years, they're making a Model 3 30% cheaper than they did at the start, because they're getting operating leverage from scale and other innovations that they continually implement.
And they have long payback periods for their suppliers now as well. So they, you know, I think it's 120 days or something, and it's ridiculous. So they make the money. They've already sold it. They've got the money. They've made the interest on that, and then they pay their supplier.
Yep.
It's just the amount of money this company's going to make. It's just ridiculous.
Well, and the thing is, they keep reducing costs, you know, by growing volume, increasing productivity, you know, having overhead efficiencies, product improvements, engineering changes, localization. So Shanghai, I think 95% of all of the inputs to the cars built in Shanghai are local to China, and you've got the scale of the suppliers. It just goes on and on. The bigger they get, the better they get.
What I don't understand is they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger and making all this money. Why is the share price diving?
Because people are idiots. The share market has nothing to do with the share market has nothing to do with the actual fundamentals of the company. This is
it does
in the long term.
In the long run, but
long run, yeah. They'll wake up.
Yeah,
they'll wake up.
In the short run, it's a voting machine. Long run, it's a
weighing machine. Yep.
And the thing is, most people, many analysts, came out really disappointed, saying they didn't show us the Model 2, they didn't show us this, they didn't show us that. But as Rob Mauer said in one of his episodes of Tesla Daily, he said if you didn't get anything out of the Investor Day, you just weren't listening. Because if you just listen to the fact that they're doing the unbox process of manufacturing, they're going to a 48 volt power supply for all the low voltage stuff. They're going towards 100% no rare earths, a drivetrain that's less than half the price of anyone else's, a 100% integration of their own silicon chip design and modules. That's what the big news is. The secret master plan is great, but again, that was a world plan. Tesla didn't really say what portion of that plan they were going to do, really. I think they said
Harold,
they wanted to get...
On that point, I was just thinking maybe in their heads, the way they're thinking about it is, okay, we're presenting this as the world master plan, but if you're wondering what Tesla's portion of that is, because it was a bit frustrating when they said, and Tesla will be responsible for a proportion of it without actually specifying any figures or, you know, what that proportion looks like. But maybe I'm just thinking the way they're thinking about it is the way they've brought electric vehicles. They've essentially forced electric vehicles on the legacy auto manufacturers is the way they're going to force everything else, you know, heat pumps, solar, battery storage. And so yes, it's the world master plan, but the way they see it, well, it's actually ours. So yes,
Tesla's not going to do all of it, but they're sort of thinking Tesla will be responsible for all of it, some of it directly, the rest of it indirectly.
Mm.
So, the only reason why Toyota is finally making an EV is because they have to, because of Tesla.
Mm. And they did
it's funny,
say that
it's funny you mentioned it's funny you mentioned Toyota, because here's a total cost of ownership per kilometre over 5 years, and they're in the top position. Winning for the highest cost is a Toyota Corolla, the world's most popular car.
Yeah.
And the Model 3 has already beaten it. And just look at the next gen. It's probably about 60% of the cost of a Toyota Corolla.
And
I mean, that's just game over, isn't it?
And quantifying joy. Once you have the car, it's what I was explaining to a couple of guys at work, and now they've gone full 180, totally against it, to now really considering getting a car now. So, because I just said, what's the cost of joy? And they're like, oh, yeah, I never thought about that. I'm like, once you put your foot down, you won't give a shit about any of the other stuff. You'll just enjoy your car, and, everything else is a bonus. And then,
But you put it together, into a package, and the Cybertruck is more efficient than a Toyota Corolla, because less to run than a Toyota Corolla. It's faster than a Porsche 911, and it can tow twice as much as an F-250.
Yep. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. I can't wait for mine, especially when they're, getting rid of the wiring harness and having Ethernet. I was spinning out, and just all the different little aspects of this, what they're doing, it's going to be great.
So what you were just talking about was the Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah.
So that's a great segue to this video, which was taken by, the team of Rob Mauer / Tesla Daily. So I don't know if it was actually taken by him, but it's been very well cut, and it looks a bit like this.
Oh, yeah. I think you need a warning of need to blur some stuff out or something. Very good. This was awesome.
We're just going to let this run, because those of us who have got a reservation are just going to sit here and drool for a bit.
Yeah.
Because this is the latest beta prototype.
With the wiper.
Yeah.
With the wiper. You've got the cameras here, the pillar cameras. Yep. That may or may not change. Oh no, that'll stay the same. Yeah. Oh, sorry, you've actually got your side cameras here.
Yep.
You've got
on the B pillar. Oh, yep.
You've got your fingerprint reader here.
Yep. To
open the door, no door handles. You've got your modern removable wing mirrors.
Yeah.
And we're going to see, this is that, you can actually see just back here, that look here, see it's slightly motley, that's because they've had to actually sort of segment and try and roll this thing into a curve, because it's got to match the curve of the windscreen. But anyway. You've got probably 3 cameras up there, or maybe 2. It's hard to tell if that's a blank. But the good bit comes down here. If he shows it, there's your front camera that's going to do your blind spot for little kiddies and give you a true 360 surround image of the car, or surrounding the car.
If you pause it, do you want to pause it? On the other side of go back a little bit. See how, I was wondering if the whole lot goes up. You know how we would, yeah. You know how on the side you've got like a split between the front and that. I was wondering if the whole lot goes up and that's your front, sort of thing.
No, the front actually is.
Or is it just going to be
just this part lifts, and that light strip stays.
Yeah.
So
oh,
that
bugger.
stays, and this lid just lifts up.
Yeah. Or if it folds down. Or
You, you, you wouldn't want the light to lift up
No.
with,
No.
with the bonnet.
I don't know. So cool.
I'm
yeah, this
surprised by
runs-
that gap between the bump,
This gap here.
between the bumper and the rest.
Yeah.
You know, on the prototype, they had some lights in there. It looks great, but I'm just wondering how aerodynamic that gap is there.
Yeah, I don't know, Pete. That where that gap is, I think there's actually a light here. I think that might be the high beams, and the main lights I think are in here.
Yeah.
I don't think these are the actual. These are more like the running lights. I think the main
Yeah.
lights are actually here. So that's probably why they've got
Might
that
be
gap.
the light.
And I think they show the interior. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and now they've gone away from the total yoke to really it's really a wheel. It's a squared off wheel, which is almost as good as the yoke. And this screen too is bigger than any of the other screens ever. So
Oh,
even
really?
bigger than the S and the X refresh.
So
It's
what,
bigger
like a
screen.
19-inch or something?
So I think it's 19 inches. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Is it 17-inch?
No, 19. It's 19.
I can't stand those aero covers
You take them off.
Oh,
Take 'em
I reckon
on
that,
the wheels. Yeah, you'd have to take them off, or I would anyway.
no, I like them.
You like them, Pete? It looks like some moon crawler or something with those things on.
Yeah, you're
By
not
the
going
way,
to get
that-
all when you go on the beach and stuff. You're not going to get all your shit inside the wheels.
That's right. By the way, the fluoro is only an accessory, but you've got
Yeah.
a rear screen, of course, for all your
Yeah.
back passengers.
And you can flip the seats up, which is cool.
Yes, you can.
Oh, there was someone was saying that they didn't think there was a 6 seat where the center console. You know how the center console will lift up and make a backrest.
Captain's
Are you-
the
in the
captain's
front.
chair. It is because see this angle here. No, this whole thing. I can't really zoom in. No, I can't. But this, I just can't zoom in, unfortunately. But
can
this
zoom in.
whole thing lifts backwards and up and upwards.
Ah,
So that is the sixth.
It used to, but they've deleted it. It's got a console now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm not disappointed. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. It's just me and
Oh.
Leonie. Who cares?
Exactly
no.
right.
And the
I-
dog.
I am disappointed.
I'm a bit
because
gutted
I
about
was-
that.
I was really looking forward to, to being a 6-seater. I think that's a big selling point.
Yeah, same. I used to have a transit with 3 people at the front. It was great.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll probably have a version.
Maybe there's an option. You notice? Oh, actually, you can't see on here. There was other footage. Oh, by the way, and I'm just saying this myself. That will be where your outlets will be for your power.
240.
Yep.
240 volts.
Yep.
Because this thing, I think, is just a tie-in with. There's another one on the other side, and you've got an interesting rail. I think this is some standard flexible
For
rail,
tie-down.
uni rail or something, whatever it's called.
Yeah, you can put tie-down points in there and all sorts of stuff.
And of course, it doesn't show here, but the so-called vault, the louvered top. Oh, that's just a fixing point. But that's where you. Oops.
Not air compressor.
Is this the final
No,
design,
that's
Harold?
a bolt. Pretty
No,
much.
quite,
It's. I think according to pen, it's never really pens down, but this is pretty much the final thing. So this will also have probably your air outlets too, for your compressor and output. But there is also another possible outlet up the top, which you'll see in a moment. That's just another cross tie. But there's your. It's sort of like got teeth things, but I think that's to latch in various attachments. But you can see there's no door going or entrance going through to the cabin.
That's a shame.
So that's very much sealed off. And it makes sense because the vault has to it runs along this channel goes down even further into a barrel that's underneath here. So this barrel diameter would have to be bigger, because you'd have to get rid of, if you want to have an entrance here, you'd have to have no vault panels here, but they probably have to store some of the vault there just for space. So in this version, there's no entrance to the cabin, which is not terrible. But here, I wonder if this section here might be for something else as well, because just above here is the actual buttons to raise to open and close the vault.
And they see in the tailgate down the bottom.
Actually, there's markings there. Sorry, no, this is actually the controls for the vault. This section here might be for maybe there's another one there. So or maybe that's actually something more like, not like a roof rack.
Like a roof rack?
Some other sort of attachment that's probably mirrored on the other side. There we go. So that's probably your tail lift, or something like your tailgate, and there's your up and down for your vault for the levers. But geez, the stainless steel looks good. Looks sharp.
Oh, yeah. And see, like, if you stop it.
Sorry, I'll just go back.
No. Where you were.
Yep.
Oh,
a bit more.
Keep going. Yep, a little bit more. And stop. See on the side, that's like a step, so you can get up.
Oh, here.
I was sort of thinking, yeah.
Yep.
There's one on either side.
And there's a charge port. There's a charge port door on the mud flap. Oh, not mud flap, on the trim bit.
Yeah.
I wonder what the material is. Remember, in the first prototypes, they had a stainless steel.
For the vault?
Yeah, for the vault.
But now the vault, it's now black. So it's probably, and that's Tesla Daily. That's courtesy of Tesla Daily that's done that.
Yeah,
Do you think that charge port flap is big enough for a CCS2?
Oh, yes. So if we go to this screen, it's a little bit dark, but it's a better shot. That's got tons. It'll be on its side, so it'd be slightly tipped over at the 1030 position. So yeah, that's definitely big enough.
So what sort of finish do you think that the vault is? Do you think it's like a rubberized or?
I think it's the same finish. It's the same looking finish as the bed. So if I can get, here we go. It looks just like the bed, and I think the bed is that's like some sort of plastic material, composite material, whatever. Not metal, non-metal.
That's good.
So yeah, there you go. So that's our favourite upcoming model, which will be produced by the end of this year and delivered.
Right-hand drive. Yeah, right-hand drives.
3 years after. I'm thinking 3 years after they start.
Yeah, so that's 2026.
Whatever that is. Yeah, whenever that is. Yeah, I think that's when we'll get it. I'll be happy to be wrong if they bring it earlier. But
you mean on the early side, not on the long?
Yeah, on the early
side, I hope. Yeah.
Oh fuck, definitely not. I would not be a happy man if they did that.
And I think that's most of basically the presentation of.
You didn't talk about the robot.
Oh yeah, the robot.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, there was really cool stuff.
Going to be bigger than the whole lot put together.
That's right. So if you thought that Tesla was a car manufacturing company, and then if you thought that it was a battery manufacturing company, an energy storage manufacturing company, and now we learn it's an electricity retailing company, it's also a robotics company that can produce what might be, or should I say, the addressable market might be in excess of 8 billion units. Because as Elon Musk said, there might be more of those Optimus type robots than people.
That's unfathomable, but yeah.
It is, and I just want one. I want to. Oh.
I don't know what you want it for, but yeah.
But it's just like, 20 years ago, it'd be famous when 20 years ago people said there'll be more mobile phones than people. If you said that 20 years ago, people would have laughed at you.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I was thinking about it and going, everyone will want one, especially if it'll do the housework for you. Just that.
Harold?
Nigel.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, buddy.
Sorry, I'll be going in a second. It's getting a bit late for these old farts. Couple of things. Firstly, I'm going to Sydney to the Fully Charged live show. Is anybody else going?
Very good, Nigel.
I wish.
I was going to go, but couldn't swing
I've
it.
even got a media pass, so I'm all right.
Oh,
very,
very
good. I was going to go
World?
too, but something came up, so I'm not going. But break a leg, Nigel.
What is it? What is it, Nigel?
When or what?
Wherever you're going.
Sydney, it's the Fully Charged live show.
Oh, Fully Charged. What is it?
Oh dear, you haven't been paying attention, have you, to YouTube or anything?
No.
Well, look up Robbie Llewellyn at Fully Charged Live or the Electric Everything Show. He's been doing things on EVs since 2008 or 2010. There
Long
it
time,
is.
Oh, okay.
And that guy there in the middle there is Robbie Llewellyn, who used to be Crichton on Red Dwarf.
Yeah.
In case you didn't know.
Yep.
And then you're going to say, what's Red Dwarf?
Oh,
And
God.
if you say that, I'm going to completely disown you. You're
I'll
a
have to
heathen
agree with
if you
you.
don't know what Red Dwarf is.
Nigel, you know that my son's initials are JMC.
Well, I was in New
Quite a Red
Zealand,
Dwarf fan.
Nigel.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So you're forgiven, Carmen. But yeah, that'll be awesome. That'll be awesome, Nigel. And if you've got a media pass,
I will be
all
putting
the
out
better.
a few videos. And the other thing is, before I go, I was going to talk about my Starlink, which I no longer need. So if anybody wants a Starlink free, you can come and take it off my roof, but fix the holes in the tin. And it's yours. And I've still got all the original box and everything.
I've actually got a broken Starlink, so I could almost take you up on that offer, Nigel, even if just to return it to as a loan item, perhaps. Which, incidentally, in the UK, you can now actually rent the Starlink hardware for, I think it was £15 or £18 a month, rather than buying it for £477.
Okay.
So that's an innovation. I didn't put it in the news because it's not yet available in Australia in that format. But
yeah. So yeah,
that's very good.
I've had Starlink now for almost blimey, since it first came out. It was about 2 years, isn't it? But I got free connection to fiber to the premises.
And what speed are you getting, Nigel?
900 plus
megabits per second.
Yes, and 50 up.
And what's that costing? What's that cost per month?
It's about the same as Starlink, a couple of dollars more. My Starlink was initially $250 down and 20 tops up. But over the years that slowed down a bit and it was down to about 170 down. Still not bad. But I could get another $20 off and go just to the 525 plan on fiber to the premises. But I've started off on the 1000-50 just because I could.
Very good. Very good. And which supplier is that with, incidentally?
That's with Aussie Broadband. I was going with another company and they sent the guy out from the NBN to connect me to fiber to the premises, and he came and said, "Where's your phone line?" I go, no phone line. You're coming to connect fiber to the premises. No, I've come to connect ADSL. You can't have fiber to the premises. So I chucked him off my property saying a few words. and then didn't do anything with it. And then I contacted Aussie Broadband, and they sent the NBN round, and they spent a few hours outside in the street. Came back the following week and spent an hour connecting it up and put the cable into my switch box. And a few hours later, I got an email and a text message from Aussie Broadband saying you're good to go. So I went and unplugged Starlink, plugged in Aussie, and sat down at my computer and go, holy shit, that's fast. So
very good.
I don't need Starlink anymore. So if anybody wants it, you've got to make good the hole in the roof, and if it leaks, I'm coming for you.
I was just in New Zealand. I went fly fishing, and we just stayed in Airbnb and plugged into their Wi-Fi. And the upload was down 200 down and 200 up. Never seen anything like it.
Oh, nice.
200 up. Wow.
New Zealand's got a very good internet. They did the Australian system minus the stupidity of fibre to the node. They just went straight to the house.
I'd really like a fast upload speed, because when I'm uploading a video, sometimes with the Starlink it was taking an hour or two. Now with this one, my ping times are only 3 or 4 milliseconds instead of 70 to 120, and it uploads a 10-minute video in just a few minutes. It's much better.
That is something that's going to be changing, though, as Richard Chapman had mentioned, I think the last episode a couple of weeks ago, that they are looking at putting a point of presence in Perth. And in fact, I spoke to another gentleman in the meantime, and he actually said the reason for the problem was that they actually do have hardware in Perth, but it's not of sufficient level to do the required IT stuff to actually do a proper point of presence here. But it's simply it's a pretty simple upgrade, and once they do it, it then will be able to be a point of presence, and your ping times will shrink down to more like less than 20 milliseconds, which will be a huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah, I'm noticing the difference, say, on Netflix with Starlink, because sometimes the ping times were so long, Netflix would just stop and jump out back to the smart TV. Now, since I've had the fibre to the premises, no problems whatsoever. It much better.
And the thing to note is, well, it sounds like, we're sort of we're not bashing Starlink, saying or talking about its shortcomings. The main point is Starlink has never ever been intended for urban use. It's always been intended. Its main raison d'etre is to provide broadband communications everywhere, throughout the planet. And the further you are away from anywhere else, the better you'll get. And really, that's the astounding thing of Starlink. Starlink was never intended for people in capital cities.
Originally, the country area that was covered was just down the road, and I was just not quite in it. But now, I mean, they're covering the whole of Perth. But I got it back then, and it was fine. Trouble is, I'm a bit of a speed freak when it comes to internet.
I lied to you. That upload was 102 megabits per second, not 200.
Okay. But you can actually, you can talk to Vocus or any of the providers, and they will give you symmetrical. Actually, I know a place at UWA, they've got a person I know had 1 gigabit per second both ways, or each way. At one of the residential colleges, and there was that was a
business rate.
Yes, and there was a cost. No, it's not cheap, but then you could also, for not all that much extra, get 2 gigabits per second each way, symmetrical.
Yeah.
So it can be done.
I'd have to sell some Tesla shares to afford that.
Well, proceeding it with this,
The following segment is general in nature and shouldn't be taken as personal professional advice.
You've already
Don't
played
sell-
that earlier on.
That's right. Don't sell Tesla shares, Nigel.
No.
Oh,
I wasn't planning on it. I'm going to hold them at least for another week.
Don't sell them while they're on sale.
I want to
exactly.
buy some more, but the dollar against the Aussie to US dollar, it's sending money out there to buy more shares is not the best idea.
Okay.
No. Whatever. Just buy. Yeah. Anyway.
Anyway, I'm going, and I'll see you all next week.
Yeah,
maybe
very good.
2
Take care,
weeks.
Nigel.
Good night,
Or 2
Nigel.
weeks.
Night, Nigel.
Night,
Have fun at Fully Charged.
I will. I'll let you know what it's like next week.
Yeah. Oh, hopefully you get to meet Bobby as well. That'd be great.
Yes, say hi to Crisis for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having a get
Oh.
together with people like Tesla, Tom, and so on, and all the other YouTubers.
Rob actually replied to a tweet once I sent about 3 or 4 years ago when I was back in the UK, because I saw a Model S down the road from my mum's house on the south coast of the UK, and the number plate was KR11TEN, Crichton.
Crichton.
So I'm like, well, he's got a Model S, and and anyway, I messaged him, and he publicly said, no, that's the one that everyone thinks is my car, but isn't.
Yeah, he actually liked one of my tweets recently as well, which was good.
Oh, did he? Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm off. See you, Pete.
Yes, you are. Very much
Bye.
so.
Have fun.
Wah.
Whoa.
Boys for the dwarf.
Yeah. He's not watching.
I'm glad someone gets my jokes.
Oh yeah, I love Red Dwarf. It's awesome.
My
now-
favorite.
Absolutely. Now, something else that's also awesome is the things that Tesla does to its product. Most car companies just do crash testing on using the industry standard tests, and Tesla actually explained during Investor Day that that's not what they do, because they've got all their data analysis on every single crash any single Tesla has ever had. They can actually work out that these cars don't always crash in standard ways. And these two videos on Twitter come from Tesla Japan, and they explain, which is actually a world first test that Tesla has done. And it goes a little bit like this.
Welcome to the Tesla Crash Lab. Today we're doing a very special crash. We will be testing a pickup truck hitting a Model Y. As you see, it's a very small overlap. This is what we call an off-zone impact. This is the last piece of validation for what we believe is a world first.
Previously, the best way to design a safe car was for industry standard crash testing. And those crash tests are like a few grains of sand. Those grains of sand are meant to represent the beach, but in reality, the beach is infinitely complex. Every crash is different. With emerging technologies, there are new opportunities. Now we can look at the real world and design for that.
We're the only car maker in the world that has a fleet of well over 1 million cars on the road, fully instrumented from a sensing perspective.
We can know exactly where the seat is, we can know where the steering wheel is, we know if they're belted, we know when the airbag deployed exactly to the millisecond.
We know exactly what our fleet of cars is being exposed to out there. The richness of data we are collecting enables us to develop safety beyond the stars and beyond the ratings, and for situations which is simply not picked up by the regulatory rating test that we and all other car makers are doing.
Industry standard crash testing is focused on impacts directly into the door. We've noticed in the field that it's very common for impacts not to hit the door.
Once we found the gap in what the legal testing required and the types of crashes we saw from our fleet data, we decided to use our very detailed simulation models to run impacts in different locations, like this simulation here. And we use this to really tune down to the millimeter and down to the mile per hour, the threshold at which you need airbags and you don't need airbags. We use that to tune the airbags and the seat belts for optimal safety.
Conventional systems don't detect this type of crash because it's not an industry standard. This new algorithm takes into account the current sensor set, interprets it in a new way, so that we can identify this particular type of crash and provide the optimum restraint for that situation.
After we ran hundreds of simulations, it was time to test this in the real world.
And I'll just spool up the next video, the last video.
Speed cameras running at 1,000. We have 17 high-speed cameras running at 1,000 frames per second, and camera data forms an integral part of the information that we collect in a big test like this. In the back of the vehicle, in preparation, we have our instrumentation rack, and it's got all the critical infrastructure to make sure we get all the data we need.
So what will happen is that when this pickup truck impacts the Model Y, so within 10 milliseconds of impact, the system will have determined what type of impact this is. And then it will trigger the airbag system and the restraint system to respond in the best possible way.
3, 2, 1. Oh.
So we just finished the crash test. Looks like we have a home run result. The cars even ended up exactly where we predicted. Post-crash, the detection worked perfectly. We deployed the airbags exactly as we intended to, as we wanted to, and indeed as we predicted to. And I just had a look at the injury values recorded by the dummies, and they look beautiful. This feels awesome. This is history in the making, and this is really the end result of the entire chain of Tesla's strength in safety development, starting off with the field data, data analytics, lots of simulation, close cooperation between simulation engineers, design engineers, coming here to the lab, recreating this whole crash, performing it flawlessly, capturing the result. Now we have some post-processing to do to validate everything, but once that's done, this is in the pipeline for over-the-air updates to the fleet, improving the cars.
We have more data now than we've ever had before. We can understand real exposure, and then we can design our vehicles for that exposure.
We think over time this will change how you design for vehicle safety. It's all based on knowledge. I think this is just the beginning of a journey for us. The reasoning we're doing this is simple. It's because A, we have the ability, and B, it's because it's the right thing to do.
Has Model Y got an airbag that comes from under the dash to protect your legs?
Apparently so. I've not tried it out.
I want to try it out.
Has Model 3 got that or not? I don't think it has it?
I don't know. I haven't tried that demo. I don't know. You'd have to look at the crash test videos under ANCAP or NCAP, which might show that, but I'm just not sure, to be honest.
You'd think they'd do that crash test with a rear-wheel drive rather than a performance, but
yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to look up crash tests. Here we go. Model 3. Frontal. Yeah, maybe this.
Troy.
We'll probably see it.
it does, Damo. The Model 3's got knee airbags as well. Found a good video. Let me see if I can share it.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think Model 3 had it. I didn't know why I had it. I know X and S have got it.
And Model 3 has got it, knee airbag, front airbag, seat mounted, side airbags, and curtain airbags.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. So your
Yep.
knees are safe, Damo. No need to
test it out.
Test it out. Unless you get it on video, and then you might get a few views. Alrighty. So has anyone got any questions or comments about either everything we've done so far or anything else or new?
How do you like your Model Y?
Hang on, John wants to say.
Who likes their Model Y, Carmen?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
him or me.
Oh,
or
I
him
like
or
my
him.
Model Y. I like it so much I've driven it over 26,000 Ks since August.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nothing.
I saw a model at a shopping centre, but it's a little bit thick and chunky. It's not as stylish as the 3.
It's a Model
Yes,
3. It's a
but
Model
I
3 that
sometimes
likes cake.
prefer substance over style, Carmen. So when you sit in it, it's so much easier to get in and out
Okay.
of because you don't bend down. You don't, as you
Yeah.
know, getting in and out of the Model 3,
Yes.
you lower yourself down and then you've got to get yourself back up. Model Y, you just breeze in and out.
Yeah.
When you sit, you've got buckets of headroom. You got a huge
That's all
boot with a tail lift.
How much higher is it?
Or about
it's
a foot,
decent.
at least a foot higher than the Model
Makes a
3.
big difference.
It's what's Leonie? She's 5'3", and I can't see her when she's on the other side. So
Yep.
whatever that is.
So the actual
the car isn't necessarily. Sorry, the car isn't necessarily higher, but the seats are about that much higher.
The car is higher. Definitely
the car is
higher.
huge.
It's definitely higher.
That much higher. It's not the whole foot higher.
Oh,
So a lot of that is made up by the height of the seat inside the car.
It
If you
looked
put-
it looked like an ordinary SUV.
Almost as high as an X. They're much
Yes.
higher.
Yeah.
I can't wash the roof of a Y. I can wash the roof.
No. I was going to say, when I've parked my car next to Leonie's and you walk around to the Y, you can't see my car.
No.
It's huge.
Mm.
That's like Leonie keeps bitching about it being too big, and then I go, "But how do you like driving?" "Oh yeah, it's good."
Hmm. Well, yeah, I don't because I'm not tall either. I do like the 3, and when I saw the Y, it did have a couple of features that I thought were good, something in the boot, and but overall, it looked like a more ordinary SUV rather than the 3. I still like the 3.
I agree, the 3 sportier.
Yeah, the storage you can't beat. I mean, you can't beat the storage of a Model Y. It's just massive, and the thing is, it drives exactly the same. So, I think the Model Y is an inch, or maybe it's as much as an inch wider, which is a rounding error, and I don't think it's really much longer. But because the cabin is taller and the
Yes.
seats are taller, it's a more like an SUV kind of
Yes.
ride. But it's no more difficult to drive around in tight spaces
Yeah.
than a 3. So driving wise, it's identical, except for your position's nicer. But you're right, stylishly wise, the Model 3 it's no different to the Model S and the Model X. The Model X looks like it's like someone's got an image and just stretched it upwards and not
Yes.
balanced it, so it's unbalanced.
Mm.
And the Model Y is sort of a little bit like that too. It's kind of stretched upwards, but not widthwise. But
I think
practicality wise,
length. I don't think it needs to be wider. I thought it might have been a little bit longer to cope with the height.
I don't think it is.
not.
It's very marginal. It'd be a very marginal difference between length, which again
Well, it
means
looks-
drivability. It's almost the same, but it's a matter of taste. So if you prefer
Yeah,
the
and I think if you're
stylishness,
taller, I can understand it. Mm.
yeah, absolutely.
Mind you, my seatbelt still cuts me, and I've got it as low as possible, but it doesn't work very well on short people.
No, Leonie
Can't
bitches
you
about
can't
that.
you raise
Yep.
the seat? Have you tried raising
No.
the seat, Carmen?
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, how does Leonie like it?
Yeah, she says the same thing.
Yep.
She says about the seatbelt because you can adjust it, but she's got it to the lowest.
No, but I've got it adjusted as much as possible.
Yeah, she's the same. So she sort of said that.
Yep.
And there's when you open the door with the Y on the door seal, there's a plastic black thing that goes out a little bit longer than that. It makes it the cabin sound really nice. But she forgets sometimes when she steps out. She actually has had a couple of bruises on her legs from that because she's little, so she almost has to almost jump out a little bit to avoid that if she's not thinking about it.
Yeah.
If she's she has to think about it with that. But I think that, and just that it's a big car that she's complaining about.
I haven't found that. The only problem I've seen is actually just the seat belt. Sometimes it cuts across the neck.
Yeah.
I've just got the specs up here. They're in inches, but the Model Y is 3 inches wider than the Model 3.
Oh yeah.
And it's nearly 8 inches longer. And height-wise,
it's definitely tall.
8 inches taller, sorry. And longer, it's 2 inches longer.
Yeah. Okay.
Makes sense. Yeah, it looked like it to me as soon as I saw it.
When you see one with a 3 parked next to it, you really notice the difference, how much bigger it actually is.
Yeah. Yeah. I see it every day.
Don put his hand up a little while ago.
Please.
And how is the price going of the 3? Second-hand 3? Sorry.
Alan,
Put your hand up, John.
Yeah, me. I really like my Model 3. It's just fantastic, but there's one real thing in it that I think is it boils down to a safety issue, and that is that the traffic indicator stalk on the left-hand side of the wheel I find extremely bloody confusing. And
you'll get used to it.
And you get used to it before or after you have an accident. I think it would be so easy to fix that at the factory stage.
Three letters for you, John. 3 letters. The first one starts with letter A, the second one's the letter D, and the third letter is the letter R.
That means
ADR.
nothing to me.
There is zero Australian design rule, and that's what's wrong with this country, is that there's no rule that says that the indicator should be on the outside,
right side, which is the right,
on the outside of the car. So it should be on the skin side of the car. So left-hand drive cars have it on the skin side of that car. That's the way they do it. Right-hand side should be on the right-hand side.
And but I mean, the first day was a nightmare. It's getting slowly better, but today on the freeway in Perth, I've got them mixed up.
Yep.
Maybe because I'm, heading for 80, but I think that it's so easy to fix it.
John, if you drive any European car,
but they're left-hand drive.
Every single one.
No. Yes, that's right. But every European car that's imported into Australia has the indicator on the incorrect side, on the left-hand side.
Yeah, but who would buy one of them? I mean, we're buying a car here that's, it's a leader in safety. I know there's a safety issue. But anyway,
I don't agree. I got used to it straight away.
Sorry?
I got used to it straight away.
Well, I might be a slow learner. I don't like it.
At least if you hit the car at 60 kilometers an hour, it doesn't actually go into reverse.
Yeah,
I know that. It gives you a loud, raucous warning.
Like a beep. Yes, gives you a beep.
But yeah, I think it's a simple thing that would have been so easy.
In a couple of months, John, you won't even notice it. And then you'll go back to like a nice car that you were in before. Like me the other day, I had to drive Mrs. car and I just kept on turning the windscreen wipers on, trying to indicate.
Yeah. Look, I know that's what will happen, and I'm getting better at it after a couple of weeks. So it'll fix itself, but it's just,
Yeah, the thing is, it's not Tesla's fault. It's just the rules or lack of. That's the problem. And this has been the case ever since cars were allowed to be imported into Australia. They never had a design rule that said the indicators had to be on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
The reason why the i30 that I think you came out of is on the correct side is that's a Hyundai thing. And I think I know in Japan they drive on the right side of the road. I'm not sure about Korea whether they are the same as us or they're the opposite.
Japan's the same side as us, I think.
Japan's our side, yeah, and Thailand as well.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about South Korea. But
I think
Hyundai,
those of us that grew up in those of us that grew up in Europe, I think probably find it a little bit easier because we're kind of used to it.
Yeah, of course, of course.
But I know what you mean though. I found it frustrating because I got to site for 2 weeks, drive to ours, everything's on the right hand side. Come back home and then go, oh, sake, here we go. Yeah. And every time I do that, we'll be a few days of getting back into it again. It's
I'll get over it. It's a pretty nice car.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think prefer it once you get used to it, having the indicator on the left. I actually prefer it myself.
Oh, you can't hold the hand of your partner while you're driving. Not that I condone that.
You shouldn't be doing that anyway. 2 hands on the steering wheel. Even in autopilot. Yeah.
How are we going to
None of us do that.
So
the mobile phone.
They're getting steering wheels now so you can have a yoke or a steering wheel on the S and the X, but you still can't have stalks. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be weird.
And Bjorn Nyland's actually got a really good video of the Plaid Model S in Norway. And he was saying how useless those buttons, because the buttons, it's not like you've got a left-hand indicator on a left-hand button on the left side of the steering wheel and the right-hand indicator on the right side of the steering wheel. You've got them both on the left side. And I think the upper one is left, maybe right, yeah, whatever, left or right. And the bottom one is left or right. So, and when you've got your steering wheel upside down, then everything's backwards. And it's just useless, literally.
They should keep the stalks. They're just being stupid. I really disagreed with that. They should have had the stalks because it's a safety thing. Like in Bjorn had shown in the roundabout when you're trying to indicate, how do you indicate while you're trying to dick around with that thing?
Yeah, because you've got to indicate 90 degrees out of the roundabout, but by definition, your steering wheel is probably half lock or half rotation, which means it's on the wrong side and back to front.
Don't have to worry about them, because no one uses indicators, especially BMW drivers.
They didn't.
That's right, BMW drivers. Sorry about
that. As Bjorn says, they haven't paid for the indicator package. Them and Audi drivers.
As a subscription.
Oh yeah, I suppose it is now, isn't it?
A quick question, if I may. There's lots of talk of Shanghai plant. Is it paused for retooling, or is it still working as per normal?
No, they only stopped like the Model 3 line for a little bit. The Model Y line didn't stop at all. So they're just pumping those cars out.
No, except mine.
Yeah, well, that's 3.5 years. You're fine.
Oh, jeez.
You'll get your car.
Don't even have an indicator stalk, and there's a bit of a rumor going around that the Refresh 3 is going to have the indicators on the steering wheel as well. I don't know if you've seen that, but who knows until it comes.
I hope not.
I think the idea is that most of the time you don't actually have to select the indicator because the car knows and indicates for you, knows which way. So, obviously if you've got the directions in the nav, but yeah.
Yeah, but I find with full self-driving, it wants to indicate too early or go to a different lane that I don't want to do, a lot of the time. I like to still have control even in autopilot. I don't agree with it because it's that sort of thing of, I'm too old school with that. Yeah. Got to have some control. until they finally figure it all out. Once they do, then no worries. It'll be driving me to the pub and then picking me up afterwards.
One question from a beginner. From a beginner, yeah. For puncture repair and that sort of, we sort of settled on the best kit to buy for fixing punctures on the road and jacks and all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so you can get various puncture repair kits from places like Supercheap Auto. I'm just trying to. There's a Ridge Rider repair kit which is $40 and it looks a little bit like this. So it's basically the style where you've got like an auger where you basically.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the sort of general concept, but is there any one particular brand that Tesla owners have decided that Ridgey did?
No, Tesla don't, but this is a pretty good. I mean, it's $40.
Ridge Rider, yeah, well, that's fair enough.
At Supercheap, there no doubt there are other brands and slightly different versions, but they generally have all the same things. So that's, and from my own experience, you know, I did a repair on what was my Model X, and then drove that temporary repair for about 30,000 kilometers. And I dare say that Richard Chapman, who then bought the car off me, probably did another 10 or 15,000 kilometers or so on it before replacing the tire. So even though it's notionally only a temporary repair, emergency repair, it works super well.
Yeah, good.
So
you can also need a jack.
Oh, and in that case, I've actually repaired 2 tires without jacking the wheel. One was a front wheel of my wife's Model S, and the X was a rear wheel.
How did you do the wheel, Harold?
Just laid down on the ground and had it sort of, you know, facing towards the back.
Move the car along till it's in the right position and.
Exactly. Yes.
Yep. But if you had to jack it, what sort of jack? Just a little hydraulic jack would do the job, I suppose.
The Model 3s are fairly low, so I personally just use scissor jacks, just caravan jack.
Just a generic type, yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Which I think I got from Supercheap Auto, actually, or yeah, probably.
Thanks very much for that.
No worries. Oh, you can also get jack pads. So if you actually have a look at your Model 3, if you go to the front of the back wheel arch, the back part of the front wheel arch, in other words, between the wheel arch and the front door, go underneath the door sill. If you'll feel like a circular hole in the underneath of that door sill, and that's where, well, actually that's where Tesla, when they build the cars, actually have like I forget what they call them now, but they're like lifts that actually cradles that hold the car on 4 points. So that is actually where you should jack the car, where that hole is located. Right. And obviously not on the battery pack, because that risks damaging the battery pack. But you can actually buy jack pads which have a circular dimple, or like a nipple, that engages with that hole to locate it, and then you jack that. So you can get them from various places, including Tesseries, which is this site here, tesseries.com.au, or Tesloz, which is tesloz.com.au, and these are Australian websites. Online.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
I think you can actually just search. If I just quickly search, Jack.
Richard Cooper's got one in his hand.
Oh yes, he's got one. If you look at Richard Cooper, there's the jack pad there. That's a circular one. There's a few different versions.
Harold, Amazon do pack with tire repair kit for 60
Oh,
bucks.
cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
just,
right. Okay.
just
Cool.
in the
So-
chat.
Excellent. So just quickly, this is just Tesla's, for example, that's $50 for a set of 4. But I'll get into the chat, and there it is there. Can I open this? Yes, I can.
Don't push.
So that,
just,
that kit is there. That's actually got tire repair and the jack pads.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Well, that
wow.
looks pretty good. Yeah.
Well, why would you
Okay.
need 4? You only need 1.
I'd have thought so.
In case you put it on a 4 hoist on a 4 poster. On a hoist.
Yeah, on a garage
Those-
hoist, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those handles are no good for the tires. So you need the proper, bigger grip ones, like the 4-wheel ones, to get in our tires. Because I found that.
Yeah,
What
you
do
got
you
to probably
say?
really hard to pull it out.
See the handles of these the Renas and stuff. They're too small.
Right.
You need
Right.
the 4-wheel drive ones, and the first
Right.
set that
Yeah.
he showed.
Yeah.
That's the one I upgraded my other one from,
Mm.
because I've had 2 punctures, and the first one I couldn't do it, and the second one I had the proper
Mm.
set, and I was able to do that myself.
And
Yeah, that handle.
as,
See that?
yeah. As for Jack, I guess if you're ever caught on the side of the road, there'll be always a good Samaritan that would let you use the jack from their
Air
car.
jack. Yep.
Mm.
Well, the thing is, actually, a lot of the modern cars these days are trending towards 0 spares and 0 jacks,
Yeah, yeah.
because they're all catching on to the weight saving and the packaging
Mm. It
simplification.
makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's a bit of a trend, because in all of my 30 something years of driving, I've only ever had one catastrophic spare flat, whereby my tire went completely flat and couldn't be repaired, and that was only a couple of years ago down the freeway, and my tire went from 50 psi to basically 0 psi in about less than 3 kilometers.
I can beat that, Harold.
Well, I
Pray
was a
tell,
bush boy.
Richard.
I was a bush boy from down the southwest, and when we ever went out in the car there, my father would always take an axe and a crowbar. Driving through the bush, tree over the road. What do? You cut it off and use a crowbar to get it off the road. So,
Very good. Absolutely.
standard gear.
So, Richard, you said you could beat my flat
Kilometre.
tire in 3 kilometers.
Yeah, well, John, you wouldn't have heard this story being a newbie. I got my Model 3 Performance after 3.5 years of waiting.
Aren't
I
you
was
lucky?
first day reservation holder, and the cars in those days, we didn't have a delivery centre or anything. It was literally came on the back of a flatbed.
Yeah.
And they delivered my car, and they took my Honda as the trade-in, and I didn't sign anything. The guy said, "Have a good day," and left. Anyway, so then not half an hour later, I'd get in the car with the family, took them for a drive, and 5 kilometres out, I touched a curb with my silly low-profile tyres on the Performance and ruptured a tyre. And I didn't even know I'd done it. I just hit just a little bump, and the whole touchscreen lit up with "stop the car" immediately. I wonder why. And I get out, and this tyre's instantly flat with a big hole. Ruptured. That was so 2 hours after I bought the car, it was back on a flatbed.
Oh, yeah. I don't feel nearly so bad now about scraping the wheel trim on a curb. I think the
Anyway.
first day.
Oh, we all
Straight
have
after,
to, bro.
straight after that, I got rid of my 20-inch wheels and put 18 inches on it, and I'm very happy. And I'm doing the same with my Model Y Performance. In fact, I'm taking I've got 19-inch wheels for it. I'm getting the tyres put on tomorrow. I haven't even got the car yet.
Have any of you guys got delivery dates for your Performance?
Yes,
Yeah,
and they're fictitious. Like they're
Yeah.
not. It's not going to happen, because the ship that our cars are on is due to arrive in Fremantle on the 4th of April.
Oh,
Yeah, and
I feel sorry for you guys.
And it'll be later, because it'll take days. It has to unload on that day, which it will. But depending,
custom stuff,
Tesla may get some cars the next day, perhaps, if they're lucky, or it can be as long as a week later. And the cars take time to prepare and deliver.
And
Apparently
Harold-
customs.
Sorry,
check
and
them all.
and of course, Richard's decided quite
Yeah,
inappropriately, perfect timing to go on holidays, haven't you, Richard?
I'll be away for all of April, so I've got Good Samaritan picking my car up for me. What's his name again? Murphy, something. Harold, that's right, Harold Murphy.
Yeah, so while Richard's away and he's out of radio comms, I thought, is Damo still around? Damo, what's the price to go to Kwinana Drags, mate? I'd like to enter my friend's car. See if we can do a few hot runs. What do you reckon?
It's interesting. I want a friend of mine
on a theme night. On a theme night, it's I think
$40.
40, and then
Cool.
on a normal night, I think it's about 70. I think.
Okay, so if there's a theme night, Richard, can I just borrow $40 off you as a fee to pick up the car for you?
No problems. Actually, a friend of mine's got a draggy he's trying to find. You know the draggy, which is a GPF. And I want to do a run with my Model 3 performance and compare it with my Model Y performance. I don't think it's going to be that hell of a big difference, really.
Is the
About
draggy
0.4, they
hardware
reckon,
unit?
Richard. Slower.
What?
So Model 3 will do 11.4, and apparently the Model Y performance does 11.7.
Yeah, I did 11.4 in mine. So, yeah. So, but that's not much. But mine's old now, so who knows? So
Is the draggy hardware or is it just an app on your phone?
Oh, it's hardware, yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Cool.
But he's got
But
to
yeah,
find
so you'll be waiting. Well, one good thing, Richard, is that when you do get back from your holiday, it'll be all detailed and sorry, you're going to have it wrapped, weren't you?
PPF, yeah.
PPF.
Absolutely.
So at least you won't have to have that agony of not being with your car while it gets PPF'd.
Hope so. We'll see. So there you go.
Hopefully.
And I'll have to pull the windows out and pull the door cards out and put the electric door handles in and have to put the power frunk in and all that sort of shit. So I'm going to do that. They're great mods.
At least you don't have to do the tailgate.
No, I don't have to do the tailgate. No.
There is that. Are you going to put a kick sensor in?
In the front, yeah, not the back.
What about yoke, Dr. Cooper? You're going to go the yoke?
I've got a full carbon yoke. It's been waiting for months to go in the car. It doesn't fit a Model 3.
God.
And he's not yoking either. There's no yoke about that.
That's something. Anybody want to buy my Model 3? It's on car sales.
Yeah,
How
take
much
a
are
number.
you asking?
Sorry?
How much are they now?
Oh, who knows? I'm asking 83 and a half. Because it's got $25,000 worth of extras on it.
What year is it?
2019.
Oh, okay, mine's 20 from California.
Yeah, mine's
Yeah, but Richard's is performance.
Ah,
So
okay.
it started
It's
out
like mine.
a fair bit dearer.
Has it got FSD, Richard?
Yep.
That's a pretty good price.
Hmm.
Think it go 83.
Yeah, but we've got to find someone who wants to buy it.
Hmm.
And it's got full PPF. It's magnificent. It's in brand new conditions. In fact,
Yeah.
it's better. It's chrome deleted, so it doesn't even look like a 2019 model.
Yeah.
And I've got two options of wheels. You can have 20-inch wheels or you can have 18-inch wheels, whichever you want.
Mm.
So
Sounds good. I'm going to have my son's when his S arrives. So he's got their 3 performance. So I will sell mine and keep his because his is 2 years younger.
Yep.
you'll like it, Karen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll love it.
Once you go
Except for the
performance, you
dash.
don't want to go
The
back.
dash is white. I have to change that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or you can get dash bits.
Yeah, I mine was wrapped, but I just unwrapped it to make it look more. Yeah, the white is silly, but you know, get it wrapped or get carbon fiber. I've got carbon fiber for my new one, so when that comes,
Just go to Officeworks and get some contact. You know, nice wood grain contact.
No, thank you.
or flowers or something. It's really nice.
No, I don't mind carbon or timber, but I'll wait till I get it.
Yes, well, your son has to get the S, and
Well, he's still waiting for the S.
Yeah, it's going to be a while.
Does
he
anyone
managed-
know when they're coming?
no.
Just before the
No.
Cybertruck.
But you know, and we said this before. There is some reason to believe, that at least the X and probably the S could be coming sooner than later, but that could be wrong too.
Is there any truth to them photos of the S that got spotted in Brisbane the other day with Queensland plates on it, or is it Photoshop?
No, it's totally true. They're using it to do high temperature testing in Australian conditions, but it's a left-hand drive Model S, and there's also a left-hand drive Model X doing the same thing. But
can I ask a question, please?
Yes, absolutely.
As a newbie here, I just got my car in the end of December. Why I love my white interior with my white along the dash. I've just wrapped my car, but I didn't actually wrap. I was thinking about wrapping the white, but then I decided to keep the inside all white. So what's the problem with white? I think it looks great.
My experience was I couldn't see out the side view camera, the mirrors, because there was a big white line when the sun was shining on the dash.
Oh, okay. I haven't had that problem. But I am new to the car, but it has been very sunny since I've had it. But I didn't want it white on the outside because there's 4 in my street. Alone here, so I really wanted to find my car in Coles, so I had it completely wrapped, but I left it white interior.
What colour did you get it wrapped in?
I don't know if you've seen it on the page, the gold one with the black over the top, Ali's toy.
Oh, I haven't.
Up on the page.
Was that on Facebook or was that?
No, yeah, on the Facebook page, yeah.
Yeah, that looked really good. Loved it.
Yeah,
What's this wrap?
The one thing I'm doing is I've got the red calipers. I don't have the performance model. I went in to buy a Y because I was coming out of a 4-wheel drive. I actually didn't like the Y and liked the sportiness of the 3, so went for the 3. But I didn't think I needed the performance because they're pretty torquey anyway. So I didn't go the performance, but I do love the red calipers. So I've got red calipers to go on, but I'm in a bit of a quandary because I got my car mocked up. I'll put both pictures on the group after this with black wheels over the red calipers when they go on, and my silver sports wheels, which are 19s. And you can buy black hubcap things that go on that look exactly like my silver alloys, but they're in 18-inch, not in 19. Does anybody know if I've hunted the web and I can't find them in black for the 19 sports wheels that will go over the top of them, just so sometimes I can be black and sometimes I can be silver.
Wow, anyone?
No, I don't know.
I also heard that it helps with, like, if you get curb rash, that if you buy those things, then you're not going to get the curb rash, just throw away the plastic.
I did see something on Kim Java's YouTube channel. They had like aero covers that actually covered like the edge of it, so you'd never get curb rash.
They go on the 18.
Was that 18?
They go on the 18. They look like
I wasn't sure.
I mean, mine is not so much for curb rash, to be fair. It's just to make them sometimes black, but I would like them still to look the same as my 19 Sport alloy ones, because they're really, I like the spokes on them, but I just can't find them. I thought I'd found them, but they're 18. So they're not 19. But yeah, the car looks great in the gold, but yeah, I've had a few stares, but I've only had one wave. I had a guy in a red Y that tooted me on the freeway, and as he passed, he had his hands up at either side of his head, like wiggling his hands with his mouth wide open, going, wah! So that was quite funny. But they don't wave. This Tesla wave doesn't work. Nobody waves.
I know, it's sad.
I got one today.
Oh, well done. That might be me.
Yeah.
Was it a gold car? I
wasn't.
wave at everybody, but nobody waves back. Maybe they don't realize it's a Tesla.
I only bother waving at other S's or X's now because I've just given up waving at reason wise. No one waves.
Snob.
Well, if you see a gold
but
wave.
the reason I do it is because if I'm in the S or the X, sorry, Ellie, like they're the only people that wave back at me.
Yeah,
so I'm like, well.
Well, if you see a gold 3, can you all wave? Because I want to wave it. So I need to get this Tesla wave. So if you see it, you'll see it. gold with a black top.
Can you please,
You're on.
if you've got the Facebook post or whatever, can you please put it in the chat, because I'm struggling to find it and I'm looking really hard.
Oh,
And
yes. Let me see if I can.
I can
It's
see a yellow.
definitely on
I can see a yellow car, but that's not it.
No, it's gold.
Because that's this one here. Oops. That's that one, and that's not yours.
I think I
That's not
saw it
gold.
the
No,
other
no.
day. Did you post the gold one the other day?
Yeah, I posted it when I picked it up. It's gold and it's got
Yeah,
black.
I saw
over the
that.
top. It's definitely on the page.
Yeah,
Just look
right.
for my name. It's Alison Johnston.
Okay.
So
I'm
just
gonna-
search Alison Johnston and my post will. Sorry, I don't have my picture working on
No, no,
Zoom.
that's okay.
I'm
I've-
up in the
I've-
office. I'm not on my laptop, so there's no camera.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm just looking
And the
now.
car's Ali's toy, but it's Alison Johnston.
Yeah, all I've got is I've
Ali,
got
all-
this. I've got this, which
Johnston
is
with
your.
an E on the end, or
That's
Johnston
me.
without an E?
With
Yeah,
an
that's
E.
it. That's it.
That was me,
an E.
because that was my that's what I made my car on the internal. Somebody just put up
Yes.
the internal
I
picture
just-
I made before I got it wrapped. Ali's toy, that's it.
But
Yeah,
I just
that's
can't.
me.
I just
Oh,
can't.
there's
Oh,
gold.
there it
Look
is.
what-
Got
There
it.
we
There
go.
it is in a shopping
Wow,
centre.
that's great. Look at that.
Oh wow.
And
That's
if
pretty
you go
cool.
up, is that my page?
I think
That's
so.
my
Yeah.
Facebook page, right?
Yes.
If you scroll down my Facebook page, you will, sorry, I'm a dance choreographer. You see a lot of dance. If you go down,
Let me just. I'll just. Yeah. I'll just. Oh, there we
Yeah,
go. Got
that's
a much better
wicked.
one. There we go.
if you
Here we
get
go.
to my post, it'll show you what I've done to the back. Here you
Yeah,
go. If you
that's
go
what
to
I'm
the
looking at. It
back,
looks so
then
good.
it goes kind of on, and then Tesla and the
Very
fit.
That's
nice.
cool.
But then I've got red calipers that are
Mm.
here, but they're just waiting. I need somebody to fit them.
Are
There you
they-
go, Rick.
they
Cooper.
colour covers.
Yeah.
The
That
covers,
actually looks
the
really
covers,
cool. And-
they're like metal. They're from Tesserae's, from Joe.
Yep. So you started with a white car.
Yeah, that's a white car. It's
So
all
that
white.
means this has been
That's
blacked
matte
out as
black.
well.
So it's completely wrapped. So that's matte black. The wing mirrors and the rest of the car are Avery Dennison. It's called energetic yellow. It's gold. It looks quite orange there. If you zoom along to the next picture, you'll see it can look really, there you go. It's actually gold. But when the sun shines on it, sometimes looks. So then at the back, all I did was I put on the fin in matte black, the little tail fin. And then I got matte black Tesla and I got matte black badge for the front. Inside, I've made it all white. So I've put in the white, it's black between the seats. That was doing my head and it's a bit manly. So that's now all white. And then the back area is all white. But I did
Looks
that.
good.
You can't see it from
So
the-
that's just super cool. That is, Ali. That is just
I like it.
super cool.
Yeah.
And
Looks sweet.
to be honest,
And I'm
that is
still
super
not getting
hardcore too.
waves.
Like
hello,
that is.
what do I have to do to get a Tesla wave? Like, hello.
You won't. They're all jealous of you.
Oh,
You
so
might-
that's why nobody's waving.
You might get
I'm
the single
keeping
finger
away.
wave, but you won't like that.
If I get sick of it, think I'm off. I looked at the price of PPF. That was what started the whole thing. I wanted to go rose gold chrome when I ordered the Tesla. And but chrome doesn't last in WA, and I thought it was a bit loud. So I decided to go this colour instead.
Yeah, that's
But,
so
and it's quite cute.
downplayed.
And blacking out. You see on a Y, if you blacked out, because that's the bit about the Y that's a bit dorky to me, is that the height of it, it just looks a little bit weird on those pillars. But if somebody blacked out those pillars like I've done to mine, which has made my car seem lower, the Y I think would look lower, but wouldn't be, you know,
Yeah,
just
right.
by
That's
blacking
just,
out that bit.
That's pretty
that's just
sweet.
super cool.
Yeah, who did you get to do that, Ali? Who helped you with that? Who's the contractor that did that?
So I contacted this woman, Louise, who's actually got a Y and a 3, and she's got them both wrapped, and she wraps quite a lot of Teslas, but she gets a guy in, a Tesla guy, so she does trucks and everything. So it's called Signman. It's over in Beaver Lake. So they did it, and while it was in, I got the ceramic windows tinted as well, front and back, and the rear, because I don't like that. They've got a third at the back that was clear. That was doing my head in. I thought it looked weird. So I've taken the dark. If you look at the back of the car, it's all black to the base.
Oh, I'll get back to that photo.
If you look at that, because I can't stand that window not being dark at the back. See how I've taken the tint all the way down?
On the roof.
Oh, there. You
Yeah.
can see there's a slight faint, I think that's the slight line just there.
You can't
That's-
see any
yeah.
line. You can't
Oh,
see any.
right. Oh,
So
so
that-
I mean slight difference. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I think he tinted it exactly like the roof. You can't actually see it, but the side windows are all tinted, the front and the side, but I didn't do the windscreen or the lights because I don't believe in that. I want to be safe. But I did do dark fronts there, maybe not quite street legal, but with a white interior, you can still see through, so I don't think the police will hound me. Can you still see my seat there?
Yeah.
But that's pretty dark, but they are a bit darker than they should be, but it looks better, and you can still see the white seat.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think I'll get away with it. We will see. We will see. But I expect waves. I'm just not getting waves. I even flashed at a guy today. I pass him every Tuesday and Wednesday when I go to take dance class. I pass the same white 3. And I thought, oh, here he comes again. So I actually flashed him today. Nothing. I thought, what is this Tesla wave? They don't even react to flash.
The one modification you haven't done is the little neon strip that has and it lights up and it has letters on it on your front.
Please. No, thank you.
And it says bloody wave at me, will you? Or
That's maybe what I need to do, but I thought that might be a little bit bogan to put over a strip over the
Oh, I
front.
think you're bogan enough to do that.
No, definitely can't do that. But yeah, I would love to. I don't know why they don't wave. Maybe I should get a waving hand sticking out the driver's window just so they get the hint.
Yeah, and make sure you put more fingers on it.
Ali, to share a story.
Can't you get that thing that's like a fixed hand that you put on your dash that just makes it look
That
like
would be
waving
so
all the
cool. That's what I'll do. I'll do that. Let's see if that helps me. Because apart from somebody putting crazy hands up with a wide open mouth going ah as they passed me in a red Y, which I thought was hysterical, I've had nothing else.
Mm.
Yeah.
There's a couple of people in Netherlands who wave. Not many, because
I'm Netherlands.
Are you? Well, there's a couple that do wave, but now there's a lot of Teslas around here, so
There's
there is no
loads.
novelty.
And that's why I
Yeah.
wanted the wrap, because I went the first day I bought it. I went in for it one day and I happened to have one, so I picked it up the next day.
Wow.
Reneged on their order. So I picked it up. It was exactly what I wanted. So I picked it up the next day and I drove to Coles, Claremont Quarter, and I actually couldn't find my car. I had to open the boot so I could see which white Tesla was mine, because I hadn't put Ali's toy wasn't on it yet. So it had some random number plate and I didn't know my number plate. So I had to open the trunk, which was really embarrassing. And I thought this thing better be wrapped quick so I can find it at the shops. But yeah, I'm in my street in Netherlands, Carmen, we have 4 and they were all white Teslas, 1 performance and 3 that were just 3s.
At Claremont Quarter, probably one is mine. I've got a white one.
Do you have a private regio, Carmen?
No, but it's 1HD. I call it one hot dog 503.
I maybe tried to open yours. Possibly went up because I tried 3 before I actually I just hit open the trunk because I couldn't find my car because I didn't have my radio on it. So I might, if you see my fingerprint, I'm really sorry.
But if you open it, if you press the opening lock, it lights up and you can find it easily.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And you can toot the horn, so you could just
I
flash
thought,
your
will I
lights.
toot it or will I open the boot? But I just opened the boot because I knew it was in that area. And when the boot opened, I could see my car quite clearly. But yeah, I know I can toot. I didn't know that the lights came on.
Yes.
When I went
If you unlock with the little lock on your app.
But I wasn't maybe that close to my car at that point because I couldn't remember where I'd parked it.
Yeah.
And there were 5, I
Ellie, when
think.
you come across another gold one, I guarantee they'll wave at you.
I don't think I'll come across another gold one.
So,
I'm hoping I don't. I'm hoping I don't. I'm hoping I'm on the only energetic yellow.
But you don't have the original black tires on the Tesla, so you should be able to find it easier.
Yeah, I've got it is Tesla ones, but it's the sports.
Yes.
19. I'm used to that now, but on day one, I wasn't very sure.
Yes.
So I just opened the.
I've got the original black tires. I like them.
Yeah, no, they're nice. It's just that I'd seen somebody with the silver, and I thought it looked nice on the white.
Yep.
So this is courtesy of James, and thanks, James. Is this what you're looking for, perhaps? Because these are 19
well, that
inch.
wouldn't match my tires. Can you see what my wheels are like? That wouldn't be bad though. Where's that one?
It's AliExpress.
Who's selling that?
AliExpress.
AliExpress. Okay. I would really like them to match exactly my sport alloy, which you can get in black, but it's only in an 18, not in a 19, which is weird because the alloy that is like that is 19. So if you look at my car, it's a different wheel. I would like my same wheel.
Yeah, fair enough.
But that's not a bad one. Thank you for that. I'll try AliExpress.
I think James has put the link. The link's in the chat, Ellie. So.
Oh, thank you so much.
You get them quick because it's AliExpress.
Instead of Ali's toy. There we go. I see it. Thank you so much.
The other thing you could have done, Ali, is on your app actually show on the map where your car is, but of course it would have been lost in the multi-story car park at
There were about 5 of them in the one little area just at and I could see 5 white Teslas boots, and I thought, oh no, and I went up to one and touched the handle and nothing happened, and I thought they've got me on sentry now, so I thought this is stupid. So I thought they're going to be reporting this woman who's trying all the Teslas. So that I just thought open the boot and then I'll know which one's mine. But now I've got my radio on, it's okay, and it's gold.
What about
Absolutely.
The summons, what about the summons?
I don't have that.
You need FSD for that.
Yeah, I don't have that. The only reason I didn't buy it is because I heard so many bad reports about it. So I know you can add it on. So I thought I will do it without and just work with their cruise control and their, see what the drive is like on that. But I find it breaks suddenly, even if I've got it on cruise, because if I'm cornering and there's a car parked in the corner, it thinks I'm going to go straight there instead of round the corner, and it will suddenly brake.
Yes. So you've got to guard. You've got to sort of guard the accelerator, so you have your foot sort of hovering, and then you can just push through. Yeah.
So I was ready to do that, but I've noticed it's done that a few times to me. So I'm not. I would wanting to try it or see some write-ups, because I only decided to have a Tesla on the Tuesday and it was in my drive on the Wednesday. I hadn't had time to look into full driving.
But so you didn't go through the agony of ordering your car and waiting for months or possibly years.
Don't ask, Harold. Don't ask.
Exactly what I wanted. Of making a phone call and saying, "Can I come and test drive? This is what I want to order." And they said, "We've got one here at the warehouse."
Oh dear! I wish I could go to Osmond Park and ask for a Cybertruck and be told, "Well, we've just got one at the warehouse."
We've got both ends of the spectrum now, hey?
We do.
For quite some time, but that's no way. That's going to be horrendous.
It is.
I want that beside a Cybertruck if I get one, by the way, because I think that's really cool as it is.
Oh yes, why would you paint something or put a coating on something that just doesn't need it?
No, I would never do that, because to me the Cybertruck is so cool.
It is. It is. Now you're saying that you weren't quite sure where your car was. For a while, when I came out of a multi-story car park, my car thought it was about 1,000 kilometers in the Southern Ocean.
Oh no!
Wow.
Which made it rather difficult to do navigation, unless I had a sextant.
Oh, no.
So
It's telling you to go 200 meters, turn left, so you'll get there eventually.
So was this years ago, and this was the old navigation system or something?
no, this was yesterday.
Oh.
Did you
So I
have the
came-
James Bond mode engaged?
Wow. So I came, this is my Model Y. So I came out of a multi-story car park and the GPS just hadn't latched back on yet. And it was taking its sweet time. And for a while, it thought I was only a few hundred meters away from where I actually was. And then it decided I was 1,000 kilometers away.
Right.
But you do get that.
I fell into one trap with a Tesla I didn't think about. The music Bluetooth wasn't working very well, and I thought I read everything about it overnight before I picked up my car. Now I knew I was getting one, and I knew that you could reset by pressing both dials. So I pressed both dials. Of course, everything goes black.
Yes.
And I thought that's all right. Then I thought, oh, what speed am I going? Because this thing tanks along. It's got real torque, and I thought I've got no idea. And it was off for about 1.5 minutes, and I'm like, oh no, I never thought that you can't even see your speed.
Yep.
Also, you won't know, but your indicators do work.
Yeah, I could hear they clicked. So I could hear a little click.
Oh.
Or I could hear a little click.
Shouldn't
Maybe I
click,
did.
but it's normally silent, but they do actually
They do,
illuminate. You just don't hear
For
it.
some reason, I thought I heard a click. Maybe I was just praying.
I reset my screen today, and so it takes about a minute or so before the screen comes back, just over a minute. And after about 20 seconds, the screen was still black for another 30 seconds. But you're right, Alison. I could hear the indicators clicking.
Yeah, I did. It was when the screen was black. And there's a little click, so it must be while the screen's resetting to let you know it's on. Yeah.
I've got a question. How do you actually do a hard reset?
Just press both dials and hold them.
No, but that's a soft reset.
And
you break
them.
Yeah, but is that a urban myth these days? Is it? I don't think there's actually any difference between
I'm not sure
a double press by itself or a double press and your foot on the brake. I thought the brake one is not.
I
really...
thought the brake thing, was a myth, but
yeah, there is a better hard reset, which is you take the 12-volt battery off.
And,
but
you have to do the 400 volt at the same time, because I did it yesterday. Because I was doing a screen tilt for someone, they came over, brought their Model Y, and I put it all back together, and the screen would not do anything. I thought, I fried his screen, so I had to take out his HEPA filter and disconnect the 12 volt and the 15 volt and the 400. I scared the crap out of me, and then I put it all back together, and it was fine.
12-volt battery or batteries or anything, I definitely would never do, but I did fit that grill thing by myself, and I felt really good on the front grill. The double bit you put on to stop the leaves and the bugs going in. On that
on the intake, yes.
On the intake, I actually fitted that myself yesterday and felt really good. Don't ask me about batteries, or I want to do all that. This is another question I have. In the 3, it's not the performance, so it's just the rear wheel drive 3. Some of the speakers seemingly are in the car, but they're disabled, and you can buy a little thing.
Dongle. Yep.
Yeah, it's like I can't remember what they call it, but a strap of some sort, and you can then attach it, because they are all there, and it activates other speakers, including some extra ones at the front. Does anybody know anything about that?
No, but we might have to take that question on notice, because I thought it was a dongle that went on the CAN bus.
It's an electric. It's like a brace that goes between.
A harness.
A harness.
Oh, it's a harness, is it?
It's a harness.
You get it from Handshow, is one of the companies that do that.
But is it easy to do?
We'd have to look at the instructions.
Yeah. I mean, does somebody know if because I think you've got to take off door panels or things, which I'm not going to do. And I just wondered if anybody else had heard of anybody doing it or where you could get it done.
No, no. But we're going to have a look at we might have to come back with this next week, but I'm just trying to find on hand show the actual unit. So to be interior.
One on James.
Premium audio, here we go, SR premium audio upgrade. So it looks like this, and you've got a control box in the harness.
That's it. And seemingly what they click into is already there. So it's
so you've got the 2022 and you've got right-hand drive. I don't think that actually makes any difference. Smart to your vehicle. And I don't know whether they've got instructions. Sometimes they have the instructions.
Oh, there's no way I could do this myself. I wouldn't even try. I mean, putting on the front thing was enough. And the internal little bits I've got, but no. But I just wondered if anybody had done this, because if it gives you much better audio, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. In fact...
And then I could add those lights to the front screen on the gold Tesla and really do what you said for teasing.
Oh dear. Actually, it is part of it, I think, is...
Raymond from Tesla offer. Today we'll show you the...
Sorry, James has put a thing out. Tells you how to do it.
Oh, okay. Let's have a look.
Hi, this is Raymond from Tesla offer. Today we'll show you how to install the SR Plus. Drive car is on the right side, so the passenger side always up. To remove the top cover, it's just pull it out. Yeah, just sneak your slip your finger inside and then pull. So we can pry it out. And it's just push pin, kind of push pin. The computer. So try to look at the bottom right side. Here is the wire pair we will connect into it. Yeah, so we will have all the signal wire that we have and then feed it out. Move this. So now,
sorry, I didn't have. Sorry, I thought it was showing. Apologies for that. So
let's try to remove these two pieces. So to remove the top cover,
so you pull the side bit.
Yeah, just sneak your slip your finger inside and then pull it out. Yeah, and then you can see a push pin here. So we can pry it out, and then and then we can just take out cover. It's very easy to remove actually. Yeah, so set this aside, and then we will need to remove the bottom part. So it's always just push pin in the passenger side. So just pull out this kind of push pin. It's easy, just there's a channel here. You can use your fingernail or use a flathead screwdriver to pry it out. Oh yeah, pry it down and then you can remove it. Yeah.
Anyway, so it goes on. So if you copy that link, Alison, it isn't actually hard. It's just sort of one of those methodical things you just have to do, and you might be pleasantly surprised.
Seemingly it makes it sound a lot better. It activates I think there's 3 or 4 speakers that are not activated in mine that would be activated in a performance.
Yeah, that's right. That guy on that video is absolutely brilliant. I'm on Telegram. What is it? That program in the Telegram, whatever it is.
Telegram. Yep.
Yeah, and because I had my electric doors went a bit wonky and they were popping a bit. And he said, "Oh, you need to do a firmware upgrade." Told me how to do it. It's brilliant. The after the sales service from EV Offer is exceptional. Handshake's crap, but yeah.
So it can be done. Yeah, absolutely. And you could just give it a go.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
But yeah, I mean, I got to say that that gold car is just that's probably one of the better looking Model 3s, to be honest. That's a pretty good color.
It actually makes it look bigger, and that was the thing that surprised me. I've got a picture on my Facebook and that one you were going through, and there's one with it in the same position all white, and then it is in the gold, and it's just the same picture of the car side by side, and the gold looks a lot bigger.
Ali,
I don't know why, but it
can
does.
I ask you what that cost you to get done, if you don't mind
Yeah,
sharing?
yeah. Well, I had tints done as well, so it would be around 6,000.
Oh, yeah, about the same as PPF. Yeah.
About the same, yeah.
Ellie, did you have the inside of the doors done as well, or
no? So
just
you
the outside?
can, yeah, because my interior's all white, I decided not to do the interior of the doors. That's about an extra $800 because they have to take out the seats, maybe 1,000 more, because they have to remove all the seats. But for me, I know that that's the area that gets heavily scuffed with people going in and out of your car.
Yeah.
So my decision was that I wouldn't do that, because when you open the doors, all white inside, and that's why I've added, like, where you lean on in the center console, that's now white. I bought a white leatherette bit for that, and the bit that's at the back where the air comes out and your little adapters are for charging, white. I've got white bits for my steering wheel. I've got white paddles for your indicator and stuff. So when you open the door, everything's white. Do you understand? So that it will be golden.
Why?
Hey, Harold, I think I've met my match, mate.
I think so. I think.
I don't mind.
And I've only had this car like a month because I was away a month in January. So
I
I've done
think,
some damage to it.
Ali, do you design dance costumes?
I don't, but I choreograph dance routines, but I don't do, and it's Alison. I just put Ali because it's Ali's story, but it's Alison. I go by that. No, I don't design dance costumes. Maybe I should, they'd be a bit wild.
I think you should send a resume to Tesla and go to the design studio and give them some interior tips
And say,
and
look,
exterior.
because I love the interior is so simple. That's what sold me on it. I don't like buttons everywhere myself. But so I actually love tech. So I thought this is the perfect car for me. When I happened to see the inside of one on Tuesday morning, on that Tuesday morning, it was the first time I'd stepped inside a Tesla. And I thought, woo. And then I thought, I'll have one of them. So I phoned it and I looked online, chose exactly what I wanted, and said how long for this, because my own car was only 14 months old. So I thought it'll be a year or something. So that would be perfect time. But it was there in the warehouse. So anyway, but yeah, I just love tech. But I do think that the interior being really sleek is very nice. But I think there's some things that a woman's touch wouldn't do any harm.
A truer word has never been said. Oh dear! So you've really set the standard. I think you got Mr. Cooper in a bit of a spin. Like, what can you possibly install next, Richard?
I'm getting you.
Bits. Can you put on calipers?
You can do anything if you put your mind to it.
Yeah, but without damaging the wrap.
Hey, Richard, I'm sorry to have to break this to you, but I'm taking my business elsewhere from now on.
I think I'm cheaper than Richard as well.
You promise?
Oh dear, I'm going to definitely look forward to our next. It'll be a Sunday casual meetup at the start of next month.
Oh, that's all right. I can do something.
And that will be on. I'm just checking my phone. It'll be the 2nd of April on a Sunday lunchtime.
Oh.
So if
Sometimes
you're available.
In car parks that aren't very safe the way.
Oh, they're right.
Oh, look, it's these cars aren't oil paintings, although some of them look like oil paintings, especially the gold ones. But you know, everyone's going to get their first scratch, their first dent, their first, rim rash, their first.
I don't mind that because that's just generally you use your car. But I was scared to go to the one in Eastwick Park because two of my friends, one in a BMW, one in a Merc, both got their cars keyed in that car park the Saturday prior. And keying a car, that I don't want to go near if there's a place that's having that done. But for anything else, of course, that happens. And that's You know, it's
But they only do it to cars that look really bold and they're really loud. So yours.
Oh, thanks, Richard. You're just trying to keep your position as the man that adds extras.
Oh dear, this is just far too much fun. This is far too much fun.
One more question. I did
Yes.
buy another little add-on, Richard, and it was the pedal covers, because in the 3 rear-wheel drive, they're just black pedals, which is really boring. So I got the silver ones with the non-slip bits on them, and it says, put it in a bucket of hot water for, I think it was 5 minutes, and then just simply slip them onto your pedals. They don't slip onto your pedals. They cannot fit they look like they're going to fit my pedal, but I cannot get them on.
Have to be hot water, wouldn't it?
Added pedal covers?
It's got to be hot water.
Yeah, it
Should
is.
be.
I did hot water, did all the instructions.
So the hot water should get them soft enough so that you can then stretch it. But did you put it in boiling water, or was it just
No, it's not boiling, so I went for just off the boil. Maybe I should try just lying them in the sun till they're really super hot.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
But I wonder if anybody else had tried them. They look really nice because it's a silver with a little black line, and it would finish off my interior nicely, but I can't get them on.
The other thing you could try is a hairdryer. So,
yeah, okay.
Because you could sort of heat them and just feel it and see if I can get sort of perhaps on the back part, not the front part, but the back part.
It's the back that you've got to stretch on, not the front. Yeah, okay, maybe I'll try a hairdryer.
Because that you could have a bit more control then, and you could sort of iterate, like you could sort of heat them a certain amount and then try it. And if it's still too hard, just do it again or do a bit more.
I do have a heat paint stripper here, but I was just scared that might melt it.
No.
Is it adjustable?
Is it adjustable? No,
There's
it's adjustable. You move it away from the surface.
Yeah, that's right. No. But some of them actually have like a circular, so like a wheel on the back of them that you can actually adjust the amount of heat.
Hold on, Patrick, does it have a wheel on the back that you can adjust the heat? It might do. I'll have a look at that.
Because I actually use that to pull apart my touchscreen, so I could put a capture card attached to it or a HDMI output to it, and that was a bit nerve-wracking because I had to, these screens aren't cheap for the car, and I think they're about $1,900.
Wow.
And I had to heat it quite a lot to separate the actual display from the die-cast back part, and that was just with an adjustable heat gun. But yeah, it has to be adjustable because the air out of a normal heat gun comes out at many hundreds of degrees, so you'll just melt it if you get anywhere close to it. It'll burn, it'll singe hair and do all sorts of terrible things.
So. Melt the back, and then I'd have nothing to wrap over the. But they look really cool. I would really like them on. Okay, I'll maybe have a look at that.
Might be safer to put them in the sun, I reckon.
Yeah, in the sun or a hairdryer. A hairdryer. I don't think hairdryers can really get that hot, to be honest. So if you sort of evenly heat it with a hairdryer and then just touch it with your fingers just to see if it's not tacky.
I know when I took it out of the water, it was pretty hot. But I noticed when I given up and threw them to one side because I was angry, that they actually then heated up in the sun, and I thought, ooh, the back of it was quite hot. I thought maybe I should just let the sun.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
Look at that paint gun. Anyway, it's been lovely tuning in. I hope you don't mind a rookie asking all these questions.
Not at all. That's exactly what we're here for, and it's highly entertaining. And it's and I mean, look.
Can I make a quick observation? So usually by this time, Richard's been asleep for the last hour and a half. And today, for the last half hour, he hasn't taken the smile off his face.
And he's scheming. He's sort of like, what can I do now? He's probably going to be combing the internet all night tonight.
You can hear the brain ticking.
Yeah.
You see the gold one and flag me down, Richard. Come up and look, see if you like the interior.
I'll give you my personal wave and you probably won't like it.
Oh, the guy in the red Y was a bit like Loopy Wave, so.
Oh dear. Well, if I see a yellow of a gold Tesla, I'll definitely be waving at it for sure.
I
A
think
gold
there was
one.
a yellow one. She did a yellow one. I saw like a buttercup yellow, and she did a green, like a green Kermie the Frog kind of color, which I wasn't interested in any of that. But I think there is a buttercup yellow and there is a Kermie, but the gold just looks really nice.
Yeah, it does, and the fact that it's actually a matte gold makes it even nicer. It's I have seen other cars in mirrored gold.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the high gloss. That's what I wanted to do in rose gold, chrome.
Lamborghinis and stuff, and they don't look good.
it just doesn't look good, to be honest. It really doesn't. But yeah, yours looks awesome, and now I'm kind of jealous and scheming myself because I didn't really want a pearl white car, but I mean Tesla doesn't have many color options.
No.
And in fact, Richard's car, oh, you can't see. Oh, yes, it doesn't look like that. The photo on the upper left for me, it's titanium silver, although it sort of doesn't look like that in real life. I mean, it does in that lighting, but it actually can have lots of different colors.
Yeah, I've seen it looking a bit purple as well. It's quite a nice color, but I thought the white for resale, because sometimes I don't keep my cars really long, so I thought the white and white should be easy enough to resell, and then I can make it anything I want it to be.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, because you can always just take it off you can leave it on as the color it is, but people know that they can always take it off and get
Yeah, well, they can have the
get
option
white.
to buy it. Do you want to buy it with the wrapper? Do you want me to have the wrap taken off and the paint will be brand new underneath?
So
Exactly.
what
Yeah, see,
happens
Richard.
when you take it off?
Or you get it properly taken off. So they use Patrick's just had his car taken off it, but his was a company big signage along the side. He's a vet, so he's Western Suburbs mobile vet. So it was like a great big thing with a Dalmatian, and it was on for 10 years actually. And but when you take it off, the paint under, yeah, that's lovely. The paint underneath is just like new. You've got to have it. They burnish it with like a little round thing that just makes sure there's no residue. But as long as you stick with Avery Dennison or M3 or 3M, sorry, 3M or Avery Dennison, they're the ones that they say are really good wraps. If you go for some of these cheap Chinese wraps and things, then you might have a problem. It might take your paint. So you've really got to do your homework and stick to Avery Dennison or 3M.
Yeah,
Well,
good to know.
I'm not going to get it done. I was just interested.
Yeah. No, it'll come off the paint.
I like pearl white.
I like the white. It's just very popular.
Is this the yellow car? It's got some other
No,
decals on it.
that looks like a company one. No,
Oh, it's a New York taxi. Sorry, no, it's a New York. I just read the comment. It's a New York taxi.
It's like a buttercup yellow. I haven't seen it in Perth, but I know that Louise wrapped it. But it's like a very pale yellow.
Gotcha.
Looked
Cool.
very I don't know.
Cool.
Anyway, I'm going away to go. Thank you so much, guys. And,
No worries, and you're welcome back any time at all. Absolutely.
And thank you for all the information. I'll go and look for those wheel things. But if you hear of anybody that does the calipers, the metal things that you screw on, because I can't take off wheels, I just need them put on. Then I'll decide if I'm going to keep them silver or I could powder coat them, but I didn't think that would be good for resale.
Well, if you get, you mean powder coat the original calipers rather than putting on clip-ons?
No,
sort of
powder coat no. I've got the calipers. Powder coat the actual alloys. I could get the silver alloys powder coated black, but I just didn't think that would be great for resale. It looks really nice white with the silver alloys.
Yes, that's right.
Alison's one other option that I did to my Lotus wheels that were silver. They were chromey silver, and I plastic dipped them. I did it myself.
How did that work? Because some people say that starts to peel off.
It can do after a while, but I used to race mine and everything, so it was pretty hard. But yeah, it worked pretty well.
So it lasted well. It didn't, because I looked at the plastic dipping. I thought that's a perfect, because I could get matte black, and then I could just have the red caliper behind, and then it can be taken off. But somebody said, oh, it won't last for very long, and it will all be peeling off. But
we did do in a couple of little spots, but it was pretty good. Yeah, and it's very inexpensive, easy to do.
Who does that? Do you know, Richard?
No. I do everything myself, Alison.
Yeah, you didn't plastic dip it yourself.
Yeah, of course. By spray cans and spray it on. It's easy.
Oh, it's a spray can.
Oh yeah, just spray cans. Yeah, and you get metallizer. So I had black and it had a silver metallic sheen through it. It's beautiful. Cost about $60 to do all the wheels. So, but yeah. Anyway, that's another story.
So Alison, George is asking that, are you working for the Perth Mint? Any chance?
No, and if I was, I wouldn't be selling dodgy gold to China. My gold's lovely gold. It doesn't have too much silver in it.
Oh dear, this is champagne. Ask us anything, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I couldn't make the last Wednesdays, and I keep getting this, because the first thing I did was to join. In fact, I joined before I got my car. The day that they told me I could pick it up the next day, as long as my money went through, I actually joined. So I was a member of this place before I even had my car. And I thought this would just be a great place for information, because initially I thought it was going to be, I was going to worry about, you know, the kilometers and, oh my God, the charging. And that was what I thought I would be really scared of, and I'm not at all.
Absolutely. No, that's awesome. I've just realised.
It's time.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Sorry, say that again, Carmen.
I think it's time for Peter to say goodnight.
Yes, because I'm just going to check just a second.
At the third stroke, it will be 11 and 20 seconds.
Yes, it is getting a bit late. So maybe it is time to sort of wrap up this awesome show, which has been a Tesla Investor Day special, and also an Alison's Gold Car Perth Mint special in the latter half of the program. And a big shout out to the Perth Mint. I don't mind a bit of silver in my gold. I don't mind it at all. But so Pete, oh, and obviously, you know, everyone's here, we all know, but we are on YouTube. So youtube.com/Tokwa. And for anyone watching us on YouTube trying to cure their insomnia, please do like and subscribe and share, because it's always great to share these sort of things with friends, even if you don't have a Tesla, because it won't be long before they'll get one. And if they're as fortunate as Alison, it'll be in less than 24 hours, which is just amazing. So Pete, how would you round out an awesome show like this?
Just quickly, Harold, how many paid members in the club now?
Oh, I don't know, Damo. It's probably of the order of 600 and something, 650, probably a bit higher.
Bloody hell.
Of
Good,
financial
good.
members.
Yep.
And I think of non-financial members, we've got, it's getting towards 3,000, I think, off the top of my head.
Bloody hell.
So, you know, you don't have to be a financial member, but one of the perks is that you do get to borrow loan stock, such as charging cables, spare tires for road trips and things like that. And you're also supporting the cause, because, you know, when we do things like various events, we do have insurance costs and those sort of expenses. So it is a worthwhile thing to do for a whole
for sure.
$20 a year. But,
Great value.
We're certainly getting lots and lots of members, financial members, and also social members as well, which is awesome.
And we're just shy of 3,000.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just shy on 3,000 members, so that's really awesome. All right, Pete. So, how would you round out an awesome show like this?
As always, stay safe, stay sustainable, and stay ahead of the curve.
And the best way to do that is buy a Tesla, preferably within 24 hours. Join Tokwa before you get your Tesla, and ask us anything about accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy.
We can all be wrapped.
And we can...
Awesome.
Good night, everyone. Look forward to seeing you on next week's episode of Ask Us Anything.
Good night.
Night.
Take care all.
And that's
Good
a
night.
wrap.
See you all.
That's a wrap.